We are calling to order our special city council meeting for our first 26-27 budget workshop. If we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence as we humbly seek wisdom, clarity, and discernment in the work before us. May we be guided in service to this community with fairness, integrity, and responsibility. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Mayor, members of council, before we dive in, just kind of go through, give you a Cliff Notes version of what we're going to go through. If you'll look at the overall budget that was provided to you, that's got all the departments in it. I'm going to start on the personnel capital requests briefly as the department heads come up once we get to their departments. Any specific questions and conversations you want to have about any of the capital items or projects and whatnot, that would be the time to get into those. And we'll start with general fund revenues. If it's okay with council, after we get through council and court expenses, I'd like to skip down to public works. Tim sings in his church choir and would like to get to choir practice this evening, if that's okay, and then we'll jump back up to admin and development services. So with that being said, council will start on that personnel and capital needs. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the items that I've highlighted in red throughout are ones that were either a request or it was part of the conversations from CIP when we had that meeting with council, and there was a mention of maybe we need to slide this up ahead. The things highlighted in red are things that I'm recommending that we do not fund for this fiscal year, but that can be obviously up to your direction as we go through it. So we're not recommending, or I'm not recommending any new additional headcount for the coming fiscal year, and staying put with what we have right now. I'm going to skip over T-Cut and stormwater equipment vehicles for now. We'll get into those next week on Monday night at our second workshop. So we'll get down to the general fund, which are the items in white. Public Works is looking for 2 pickup trucks, and those will be replacement of older vehicles in the fleet. A snowplow, we currently do not have one. Probably could have used one instead of the front end loaders with the snow we got this winter. And this would just be an attachment on one of our vehicles. Development services, this is a replacement vehicle to replace one of the old Priuses. PD, 3 vehicle replacements, 2 that would be patrol and 1 that would be admin. Parks and Rec pickup truck is a replacement. The front end loader for Parks and Rec is a replacement, and Dustin can get into more details on that. And then a trailer, this is an large haul equipment trailer in Parks and Rec as well. The items that were requested, the top 2, a van, think of it like a panel van for to be able to maintain our irrigation systems and things like that throughout the city, and then an RTV. Not recommending those 2 for this fiscal year. The next 2 items, there was mention from council members during the CIP about moving those up, the CAD system for PD and the training simulation system for PD. Not recommending to council that we fund those at this point and keep those in the capital outlay. I do want to let you know that the CAD system for PD, we have requested a state appropriations for that. We won't know if that's going to come about until probably early to mid-June. So if that funding does become available, then we would be able to move forward with it this fiscal year. But that's Representative Terrible and Senator Johnson both received that request from us, along with some other things. So we'll see where those conversations go with the state as they're working through their budget. From the project standpoint, updating our compensation study. The last one we did was in 2022. The continuation of the Parks and Recreation Park Action Plan, installing power in the median on Stonecrest from Dam Road to Ledgestone, so that we can do uplighting in the median. When Christmas comes around, can put lights on the palm trees and whatnot down there. Pickleball courts, this is to install a sidewalk, as well as repair fencing and the gate system, making those ADA accessible, as well as replacing the electrical panel. Again, Dustin can get into more details on that when his time comes up to the table. Hearth room remodel. This building is currently about right at 20 years old. This would include painting the hearth room, and we are looking at this as a multi-phase approach. But starting with that room, it gets used a lot by a lot of the civic groups and things like that. It'd be replacing the furniture and the flooring and painting, and giving that room an update. If y'all will recall, we didn't when we got the flood from the broken sprinkler system, that flooring did not meet the threshold with insurance to get replaced. So just trying to update that room, especially as much as it gets used. And then, looking to do the kitchen and the large meeting room and the hallway in subsequent budget years. And then monument renovation. This is, again, would be another multi-year plan, starting back with the Anchorage and then working our way forward with the older monuments, which would include Anchorage, thinking off the top of my head, Seven Coves, Water Trace, Heron Harbor, those monuments. I think we've got a total of 5. So this would be year 1, starting with that. And that would be doing and Dustin will get more into that. Chief Acey and I have been having conversations around the fire architectural design and renovation stuff, so not looking to fund that this year. The Turner Field Lights will need to be done in a subsequent fiscal year, but not proposing that for this one. And the last 2 items there are related to the Beach and Swim Center. And you'll see the note there, the Beach and Swim Center, they can't afford those big ticket items just in and of itself. So that would have to be an appropriation out of the general fund when we get to those. And that's your personnel capital request. And again, as the departments come up, they are prepared to get into more detail on those things in their discussions with you. So moving forward to general fund. Every year when we do the budgets, it's like riding a roller coaster. There's great days as we're looking at the budget, and then there's bad days that we're looking at the budget. And the one downside to changing the fiscal year is the information we get from the county, because we're going now on the same fiscal year as them. But and that's just with the assessment reports. So these numbers line up on the property tax side with both historical data and assessment reports we've gotten from the county. The auto tax revenue, as Bob and I have talked and looked, you can see we're only projecting about 5,000 more than what we got in 24-25. We feel like that number's low, that we'll probably realize more than what we're projecting right there. But just being conservative on that. The county, when they send their reports, every year it shows our auto tax going down for some reason. And every year we either meet or exceed what we're projecting. I don't know why they keep showing a reduction every year. So this is on auto tax. This is just based on historical data, more so than the assessment report. But on the property tax side, that is based off of the county's assessment report to us. We won't get the final from them until probably August, September, right before they send out the tax bills, and finalize everything in September. So that number could go up, but that is the number that we have right now from the county, and that's the number we're using. And then penalty revenue, you could see 2 years ago, we brought in, and those are actual numbers in the 24-25. That's the audited numbers, not the budgeted. You can see we brought in almost $23,000 there. We're projecting a modest $15,000 in this coming fiscal year over a 12-month time period. So that's your property taxes. Your franchise fees, that includes York Electric, Duke Energy, Comporium, and TCUD. Each pay 5% of the revenues coming in. Bob, some of those come once a year, and some come.
York Electric comes once a year, and Duke Comporium come 4 times.
Yeah, on a quarterly basis. And TCUD, we do at the end of the fiscal year.
Once a year.
Court fines and fees, we're projecting at $144,000. Building inspection fees at just over $900,000. And Nick has given us a good analysis on that. That's your remodels, your zoning permits, as well as your new construction permits. Business license revenue, you can see that's slightly up from where it was 2 years ago. The bulk, we get I would say probably 50% of that comes generally in June from MASC, from the Municipal Association.
More than 50%.
And then impact fees at $890,716, and that is based on commercial and residential projections. We discounted some of not discounted, we reduced some of the projections that came from the builders. For instance, the Grove is projecting building all 56 townhomes that are in phase 1. We cut that number in half. If they get to it, great. I don't know that they will, and that's why we cut that in half. And it also includes the first commercial building that's approximately 50,000 square feet that's in phase 1. We did leave that one in there as we're supposed to be getting the building plans probably late May, early June. So as soon as we get through that plan review and everything, they should be able to be at a point where they very soon thereafter can start pulling those permits and whatnot. So that's why we included that. We did reduce commercial on one building in the Windhaven commercial development, just based on conversations with that developer. At first he thought he was going to have that third building. Now we're not sure, and he's not 100% sure, so we took that part out on that revenue analysis there. So your total on your license fines and fees is $5,162,695. State shared revenue, that comes from a report that we got from the state, $375,230. The good news there is the General Assembly, for probably the 3rd or 4th consecutive year, has funded that at its statutory limits, which is good. And then there's some other small fees that go in there that we get from Department of Revenue, that some of our illegal Airbnbs that get rented out before code enforcement's able to catch them. They pay, they pay to the state, and that money comes to us. Your alcohol tax, we get small bits from that. They're not big, so we'll probably come in slightly over the 375, but the 375 is what we'll actually get from, we know that we're going to get from the state based on their report. Recreation, you can see we projecting obviously nothing from York County anymore. So the 735, 780, that includes our registration fees. It includes the Charlotte Independence money, as well as rentals down at Catawba Park is what makes up that 735, 780. Sponsorships at 50,000. Park rentals at 5,000, and then concession revenue at 6,000. Bringing your total recreation to 796, 780. Other revenues that we're forecasting through the year, interest earnings at 400,000. Interest rates dropped a little bit from where it was in 24-25. Plus, we're spending down a lot of. We've spent down. Well, no, not in this one. That's in TCO. We've spent down money. So, in here, we've still got a good fund balance in there, but the interest rates have come down some. But those fluctuate. So we're just basing it on where it is right now. Your trash fees, and that analysis is based on that projected 1.5% increase that that Signature Waste has notified us that they're requesting. And that's where, and Dana's run a good analysis on that for the $1,122,880. Transfer from the Beach Club, and that's just to pay their portion of our landscape contract for down there. Transfer from hospitality tax for Catawba Park. You see a big uptick from there, and that's because the Runny Field lights have been paid off, the note on that. So that balance from hospitality tax, we added to what was already coming to Catawba Park, or to help pay the bond on Catawba Park. Transfer from golf, $350,000, and that's to go towards that will go towards the bond for the golf course. Transfer from reserve fund, we're not showing anything there. Other revenues, and this is just miscellaneous revenues that we get, just $2,500. Waste management fees, that's people paying us to pick up brown goods, white goods at the curbside. We don't get a ton of those requests, so that's just a modest revenue amount there. Cell tower rental, that's based on what our current rate is with the 4% multiplier that goes in annually, so that's $65,486. We don't put grant revenue in until grant revenue is actually received, and then we'll put it in those two line items. That's why you see those as zeroed out. Glennon Center rental, we don't have a ton of rentals up here, but we do get a fair amount, so we're forecasting that at $3,500. Resource officer reimbursement, that's coming from the state and from the school district towards those three officers. So two of the resource officers are funded at 100%, plus we've got a new Class 3 officer with that agreement with Fort Mill School District. And then we have our resource officer at the middle school. Fort Mill School District funds 60% of that. Sale of fixed assets at $10,000. Parking ticket revenue, we're forecasting at $15,000. And then restaurant license fees, that will be coming from the Garrison at $90,000. So that is the forecasted revenues for the coming fiscal year, totaling $19,429,432. Any questions on the revenues we can answer before we get into expenses?
With Catawba getting more of the H tax, and you said that that's going towards the bond payment for that, what's the actual increase in bond payment that's going to?
Let's see. The bond payment, it's pretty much a flat bond payment from year to year.
It is.
So this coming fiscal year, if you'll look on the bonds and lease tab, it's $591,394 at 2.5%.
So does that take into account the extra money that's going into
That just helps go
account?
towards that. That and impact fees are going towards that payment.
Okay. And then for you said the Glennon Center rental, is that tied to the contract that's there now, or is that something
No, that's
different?
when groups, individuals call and want to do a birthday party in the large meeting room downstairs and
So we're
things like
talking
that.
about the lower
It's the
level.
rental, it's only rentals that happen in the lower level. And there's not very many. There's so many civic groups that use it for free. There's bridge groups, there's mahjong groups, there's knitting groups, things like that. They're able to use, and they primarily utilize the hearth room. Various HOAs will meet in there. They get to use those at no charge. So civic groups, there's not a fee for them. This is for private gatherings. We'll have birthday parties and baby showers and things like that. There's not a lot of them, but it's just the lower level stuff. Everything related to the restaurant is in that restaurant license fee, that new line item at the bottom of the other revenues.
One question about the property tax. The 9-month, is that a full 12-month payment? We got looking across the revenue.
Where are you talking about?
Up top, under taxes.
Under property
revenue.
taxes?
Yeah, that 8.5 million, that was the full year tax?
That was forecasted on the 9 months.
Okay.
And we have exceeded that.
Okay.
As we speak.
So from 24 to now, I mean, we're forecasting, what, 8 million?
Oh, we had, don't forget, with a 15% reassessment.
Okay.
Are boats included under the automobile tax or the property taxes?
Under the auto tax.
Okay, and so is that part of the reduction? 'Cause I know the state.
That won't go into effect until next year.
Okay, so that's not this fiscal year. Okay, I was just curious because I've been seeing the news about that, so
Yep.
I want to make sure that was accounted for. Thank you.
Yeah, the reduction on the boat tax that the governor just signed into law, that will hit next fiscal year. It's still unclear as to how much of an impact that'll be for us.
Are you expecting sponsorships to continue to go down? It seems like that's a bit of a trend.
So I know that we're, one of our $10,000 sponsors backed out this year. I think it was Piedmont, Dustin? Yeah, Piedmont isn't renewing. Basically, what we've been doing for the last several years with sponsorships is we're funding into general fund 50,000, and then all the other sponsorship dollars are over in your events line item, showing in revenues over there in your events tourism budget. So we bring in more than 50,000, we put 50,000 in here, and all the rest of the sponsorship revenues we put into the events tourism budget to help pay for those events.
The park rental revenue, is that just, does that include Catawba Park, or is that just the other?
That's Pitcairn and Windjammer, and I would say the vast majority of that is Windjammer. Several years ago, we made the decision to stop renting out Windjammer on the weekends during the summer months so that residents could enjoy it and we can maximize the little bit of parking that we do have down there. So during the summer months, we're only renting out during the weekdays. But yeah, that's what that revenue, the park rental revenue doesn't, that's nothing with Catawba Park. All the Catawba Park rentals are in recreation revenue.
The anticipated sale of the fixed asset for $10,000, what are we looking to try and?
So some of that is aging vehicles, aging equipment, and things like that that we'll be taking out of the fleet. And that's just anticipated what we'd get for it. It may come in higher. A lot of that will depend on what council approves as far as any new equipment vehicles. If you'll recall on that capital request, pretty much, well, actually everything on the general fund, with the exception of the trailer, are all replacements. So the vehicles and equipment that they're selling, some of it's so old, it may only get $1,000. Some of it may get $5,000 to $6,000, just depending on we put those, a lot of those we put on Gov Deals, and let them be auctioned online there. It's no cost to us. Other vehicles, or if we're not successful by the time, City of Rock Hill always does an auction, a big city auction. Anything that we haven't sold online, by the time the auction rolls around, Rock Hill has always let us put vehicles in that. And whoever buys it also pays the auctioneer fee, so it doesn't cost us anything. And we just get a check on that once it's sold.
All the numbers are based on historical data, too. You can see 24, 25, we received 18,000. So
What does on the resource officer reimbursement, so in '24, the actual was 94,713, and now we're at 333,751. So what does that cover? How many officers, what's the difference in 2 years?
So you've got a total of 4 officers in there now, 3 of which are attributed directly to school resource, right? It's 1 at each elementary school and 1 at the middle school. The ones at the elementary schools are reimbursed to us 100% through the state. And the one at the middle school is reimbursed back to us on a monthly basis at 60% from the Fort Mill School District. And then we have our Class 3 officer, the Fort Mill School District. We just entered into that agreement at the beginning of this school year when the district was notified, and most of y'all will remember that they weren't going to have the crossing guards out there anymore. Fort Mill School District said, we'll pay an officer to be out there. So, okay. So in year 1, this fiscal year, they are reimbursing us for full salaries and benefits plus their equipment. And then going forward, it's just salaries and benefits at 100%.
Does that include a vehicle?
No, they were able to go into one of the vehicles we had. We didn't have to acquire a new vehicle for that officer.
So we had the 3 extra vehicles.
we had a spare that the Class 3 officer is utilizes when they're on duty.
But for the other resource officers?
The other resource officers do have the vehicles fully equipped and everything, so that is included in the state grant,
Okay, so we are not paying for their vehicles?
Correct.
Okay.
with the exception of the officer at the middle school.
And we just received a $55,000 check today. One of the checks. Reimbursement.
Yeah, Dora is able to bill them monthly on that, and they are very quick to pay it, which is nice. They don't make us wait around for the check. Any other questions on revenues? All right. We'll go ahead and touch on municipal council, and then I'll get Judge Simpson up here. Municipal council, really nothing, nothing new in here. The one thing that I'll say big uptick that you'll see is on the travel and training. If council decides not to use it, then then that just will roll into reserves at the end of the fiscal year, but gives you the ability to attend the mass trainings. I know 4 of you went down for the Hometown Legislative Action Day, participating in the Municipal Elected Officials Institute, which are all great things. So just to provide that opportunity for y'all, I think it's a great thing for council to attend those trainings. So that's your one uptick item really in there. Obviously, no election expense for this coming fiscal year. And as we have seen, both with just a general election and a special election, they both cost the same amount of money, and they have gone up significantly. And we asked a lot of questions when we got that bill, because there was a little bit of sticker shock on that. Now, when there is a federal election, national election like we'll have coming up, we're not charged on those. We're only charged when it's just a city election, and that's the only thing on the ballot. So the midterm elections that'll be coming up this summer, plus the election in November, we won't receive, we're not billed on those. So that's why we're not forecasting any expenses there. So any questions on council?
What, under travel and training, there's meeting expense also, that there's an uptick on that. It's not a lot of money, but what's the
That's
driver behind that?
for various things, supplies for the meetings here. There's, some of that ends up being some IT stuff. If the cameras in this building have to be replaced for some reason, things of that nature. Apparel for council, like the shirts and everything, those go into the meeting expense.
Same rules, if it's not utilized, it goes back into the fund.
Yes, sir. And that's across the board. Yeah, so anywhere where we're coming in under expenses in any of the departments, that's just additional monies that Bob's able to transfer over into reserves.
Thank you.
At the end of the year.
Any other questions on council? Okay. Judge Simpson, if you want to join us, please. Next is municipal court, and as judge is coming up, and this, just go ahead and let council know, across the board, anywhere where we have salaries and wages for staff, we have programmed in here a 3% COLA and up to a 1% merit for staff across the board. So just to let you know that is in there. So you will see, obviously upticks on salaries across the board. None of that is new hires. That is strictly just related to the 3% COLA and the up to 1% merit that we're envisioning.
Thank you for that.
So with that, what questions do y'all have of Judge Simpson for her budget?
Just a follow-up on the salary, the 3% plus the up to 1%. When I look at this, it shows me that there was it's a 7% increase if I'm annualizing the budget, the 9-month budget, and it's a 27% increase looking at it compared to 24, 25. How do I
Keep
look
in
at
mind,
that? Yeah.
council voted a year ago to do an increase for Judge Simpson.
And that's what I was
And
asking,
that's
if that was what was calculated here. But that same increase more than the 4% that we would be looking at based on what you're saying. That's across all of the departments. So would you be able to, once we get there, can you walk us through those as well?
I will do my best. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Good, how are y'all?
How you doing?
Good. Y'all got any questions for me?
I don't.
I have a question.
Pretty easy,
Oh,
but
probably the same question. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask about the change in supplies from 3,700 to 7,500.
Yes, so with supplies, 3,000 of that, which is, it seems though the significant increase is that both mine and the clerk of court's computers are going to need to be,
Replaced.
there you go,
There you
replaced.
go.
In the new fiscal year, so I put
Got
that
it.
in there.
Okay,
Thank you.
that explains it.
Council, I do want to note the reimbursement of other governmental units, that's a formula that's tied to the revenue side of things. So the higher the revenue goes up, the higher that expense goes up. And that's primarily what that is a reimbursement. I think it's like on a per ticket, whatever is adjudicated on that ticket, a percentage of that goes back to the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy to help
Yes.
fund that.
Thank you. I was literally about to ask what is that? So
Same.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Yep. Any other questions on court?
Not specific just to court, but on the copier lease, what is that contract? Is that something that goes out for bids, or is that just something that gets extended?
We just redid that last year. Yeah, we've got 3 years left on that one, before we'll shop that out again. Dana's done a good job, along with Janet, in consolidating. For instance, lower level City Hall, where the bulk of admin is. Everybody prints to just the copier machine instead of having individual printers in their office, with the exception of Bob and Dana and Dora, because of finance and HR with having to print checks and things of that nature, and then obviously confidential HR files. You don't want to send it to a community computer. Yeah, and then upstairs, pretty much everybody, with the exception of, I think, maybe Shanae, prints to one central copier. Yeah, and then over at PD, we've consolidated as much as we can there. So I realize it comes across as, it may look as a big expense, but Dana and Janet have worked very diligently over the last several years to really dial that in and get it as tight as we can. But yeah, I think Dana's right. We've got about 3 more years. And that's with, is it Kelly? Kelly Office Solutions is who it's with right now.
And I assume that comes with the tech support that you would want for those large machines. So if you have any issues, you can call somebody in to service them versus us
Correct.
being the ones responsible
Yes.
for replacement, repair,
Includes
things
toner
like
and
that.
all that good
We
stuff.
looked at purchasing, directly, that's not the way to go.
Yeah, they do a similar thing with the school district, so I figured
Yep.
it was an all-inclusive deal, which
It
is
is.
part of that price, which has big benefits for labor and frustration.
We don't have to kick it anymore. We can just call someone to come fix it. Anything else for Judge Simpson?
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right. Tim, so council, if you'll scroll down to Public Works, we're going to skip admin and dev serve and try to get Tim to choir practice.
All right. Hey, Tim.
There's only 6 of us in the tender section, so they need me.
So I'll cover real quickly as Tim gets settled. The salaries with Public Works are split between here and Stormwater. 65% of their salaries are in general fund, 35% are in Stormwater. If we're being honest, that should probably flip if we're doing a true time allocation. Stormwater just can't afford it and be able to do stormwater projects, right? So we've got it split. It used to be a 75-25. We've got it down to a 65-35, but that's what you're seeing there. But again, no new hires going in there. And then with that, I will be quiet and let y'all ask Tim what questions you have of Public Works.
Tim, thanks for being here.
Good evening.
My first or probably my biggest question is the uptick for street maintenance. And we're requesting 185,000, whereas for 2024, 2025 was only 60,000, which is sort of a difference of $124,000. Why do we have such a large uptick in street maintenance? And then we just did a a contract for street maintenance for an outside vendor?
That was just a little patch job.
Okay.
The main thing is, if you look at your street maintenance tab on the sheets that were provided, was street signs and sign parts was $10,000. Street patching, we estimated at $75,000. Pothole repair at $2,500. Curb and gutter repair at $17,500. Sidewalk repair at $52,000. And marking like lines and things at $3,000. That did not include crosswalks, or did we add crosswalks in there? We did add some crosswalk painting in there, and resurfacing for the total, yeah, that adds up.
185.
So that's the items that are included in there.
So in 24, 25, we actually budgeted, I want to say it was about 100 or 120,000, but we only got to $60,000 worth. So you ended up with a savings in there. So yes, it is an increase, but it's not as monumental from budget to budget. It's just from actual to budget, yes. If that makes sense.
I think my question on this goes back to the payroll line again. And if I'm looking at it, comparing it to 24, 25, which was our last full year, it shows a 14% increase and a 13% increase if I'm looking at a 12-month conversion.
The 450,000 represents actual numbers for that year, but we weren't fully staffed for the.
Yeah.
The 400, I got
Right.
454, so.
And the 514 represents fully staffed department. So that's why there's a
Yeah,
difference
so
there.
if you were to go back and look at the budget, what was budgeted in 24, 25, it's going to be a higher number than the 450. 450 was the actual because we weren't fully staffed for that year.
Hey, Tim, what's the difference between tree care and tree work?
Okay, tree care is like integrated pest management and fertilization, has to do with actual care of plants that we have in our property. And tree work is what we do for removals and pruning on trees in greenways and public property that has to be removed, typically due to a hazardous condition.
Okay. And as a follow-up, excuse me, significant increases year over year. What's the driver behind the increase?
When I was young and doing tree work, I could take down a giant pine tree for $250. Now that same pine tree is probably $2,500 or more. So the significant increase in the tree and arborist industry has driven that increase.
We're just paying a higher fee to get that.
Yeah, everybody's paying it.
Inflation.
Our guys take down what they can, but there are certain trees where we're like, yeah, if it's close to if it's on our property, but it's close to if it came down wrong, it could hit a house.
Right.
We contract that out and let somebody that's
Okay.
bonded in insurance and equipped to climb the tree and top it and things like that, we contract those out.
Unfortunately, we have greenways behind a lot of these houses, and the trees on the edge seem to die several years after occupation, after the subdivisions are occupied, and then we have to come in and remove these trees, and they're usually in a precarious position and require somebody with a lot more insurance, and we would prefer to hire that out instead of take the liability on as a city.
Great.
Question in general, but it came up here first on fuel. What did you guys forecast for the increase in fuel costs?
On average for unleaded, we're looking at $3.50 a gallon over the course of the 12 months. And on diesel, we forecast that, which is primarily in the fire department, at $4.50 a gallon.
And that could fluctuate,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
up or down.
For
What
instance,
goes-
I think this past year, we were budgeting unleaded at $2.50. So we've bumped it up an entire $1 over where we were this current fiscal year. Yes, ma'am.
What goes into your building and grounds maintenance? I noticed that each department has a separate building and ground maintenance budget. And with Public Works, it's 16,000. It was 12,000 in '24, and then 15,000 in '25-ish.
So-
What does that include?
So some of that is our termite inspection for the Public Works building, which is shared with TCUD. We have the building maintenance cost was associated with the outside of the building or things inside, generator services, and HVAC maintenance and repair.
Plus any maintenance that may be needed on the shop building,
Okay.
on the maintenance shop building down by the pickleball courts.
I guess where I'm looking at comparisons on this, for the admin building, I think you have it at 5,000 for building and grounds maintenance.
So admin doesn't have a buildings and ground, but we have a city hall and non-departmental.
City Hall, that's what I meant, yeah.
That one, where is it? City Hall building maintenance at 5,000.
So you have 5,000 for City Hall, you got 16,000 for Public Works. When you get into TCUD, you're at, I think, 27,000, and then you go into fire department and police, and they jump from that. I'm just curious, what are the expenses that constitute building and maintenance that make it go so high from 5,000 for one building to upwards of 40,000 for another?
A lot of it is going to be dependent on the size of the building, the age of the building, as well as like what needs to happen there. A lot of it, as Tim noted, is related to our HVAC contracts that we have on the buildings and those preventive maintenance on those units. Plus, we always try to budget a little bit of money for the uh-ohs, the unexpected, something broke, that kind of thing. Roof started leaking, that type of thing, just in case it does happen. But for the most part, it's just your general wear and tear on that building and keeping it up. With PD, it's such a large building. The guy that cleans our buildings, it's hard for him to keep up with a building of that size plus all the other buildings because we have one person. So they have him plus a contracted service that comes in, that's cleared through their background protocols and everything else, related to being able to get behind the scenes in a police building. It's impacted by the amount of staff that's using that facility, as far as your paper goods, white goods, toilet paper, paper towels, things of that nature. All of those things get wrapped up into your building maintenance stuff.
I think Glenn and Joey could explain the building maintenance.
Yeah, they've got
They got a good
breakdowns on each
breakup
one of
for that.
those.
So when they come up,
Yeah, because they've went up significantly in the last 2 years. Question.
What else do y'all have for Tim on Public Works?
Oh, I was gonna just ask your two pickups. I'm assuming they're replacing the old 2011s or the 2007?
I'd have to look at my schedule, but we would replace the oldest ones
Okay.
that were on that schedule with the most mileage.
You got a 7 and an 11.
What was the increase on your IT expenses from 1,500 for the 9-month budget to 6,500 for
From the 9-month
requested?
budget.
And in 24-25, the IT budget was $653, and it is now $6,500.
So we had $1,500 in there for computer-related. We need to replace the computer for the fleet maintenance supervisor down at the shop, and also cameras at fleet maintenance and the operations building that we were working on at $5,000. That was just an estimated cost. We're trying to get some of that done in this budget year, but we had a cost of cameras for the shop building and for the Public Works building that we would put in with that money.
These would be security cameras.
Yes.
Things to monitor, so
Right.
like, or if there's an incident, that way you have footage to show what happened, like if there's a
Yeah,
workers' comp or
it's-
something like that. So
it's-
basically just general monitoring cameras
Yeah,
for the
and it would
facilities.
be material costs mostly because Janet is super great at cameras, and she's, with our help in installing them, and she programs and makes it all happen.
Yeah,
so
and thank you for
it's-
having this on the Excel for your department. That's very helpful to be able to see the breakdown, but to specify some more details beyond what you put.
So that increase is not an anticipated year over year, it's to replace some computers and cameras.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a
Okay.
reoccurring cost.
I had one last question myself. Oh, screen change, hold on 1 second. The equipment lease, it was 48,
we paid off a
52,
lease.
20. What leases are those? I guess.
So the
that's not part of
27, the
capital?
27,917 would be the lease payment for the things that were acquired this year under that lease.
Okay, so you got them broken out. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yep.
Got it.
And we'll talk more about that after we get through the non-departmental section.
So that was part of the 2025 vehicle lease.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
To church you go.
Anything else for Tim in Public
Down the
Works?
road.
Have fun, Tim.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks, Tim.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful evening.
You
Me
too.
too.
All right, we'll scroll back up to admin. What questions do y'all have for us on that?
It's back to that salary question. Is it the same thing that you just?
We also reconfigured some of the salary allocations. So you've got several folks in admin, such as myself, Bob, Dana, Dora, Janet, and Tammy, our new HR person, where we're spread across several funds, and Joey. So we've reconfigured some of those salary allocations. A lot of it was to try to reduce what was being moved over, that was being shown in stormwater. Again, to try to, a lot for more funds in stormwater for stormwater-related projects and things of that nature. So it was a lot of that is, obviously, we've added an employee with, in HR. You've got your COLA and merits, and then you've got just a reallocation on time spent in some of those areas.
There's two COLAs there from 24, 25 to 26, 27, 8, that's 4%, and a new employee, and that accounts for the $100,000. Because 8% times that previous figure is 40,000, adding the salary, et cetera, adds up to $100,000 difference. And then when somebody leaves, we don't replace them right away, we save a little bit of money too, so it's fully employed and then the actual.
At a minimum, if we lose an employee, at a minimum, you've got 4 pay periods before they're replaced, and that's fast tracking it to where that's 4 pay cycles that go through where it's going to end up showing it as a savings at the end of the fiscal year. So, and more times than not, unfortunately, it will take longer than 4 pay periods. Love to, it only take 1 pay period, get them replaced a lot faster. But by the time you advertise, background check, interviews, and all that kind of stuff, it takes a while before we can get somebody new in.
And salary allocations, salary budgets are not ever moved into any other funds, right? That's,
As far as,
I mean, to use, like if you were needing to move, you went over budget on one fund, you needed to, you would never.
We don't do that. Mm.
Few things that, that I flagged,
Okay.
because the percentage increase, data processing service being one of them, we've got a 50% increase. What's the driver behind that
Paychecks.
Paychecks.
Paychecks has gone up in service cost.
by that much?
Mhm.
Jeez.
We have a lot of inflation going on,
Is
as we
that-
all
Yeah.
know.
Is that the same?
Everywhere.
Okay. What about office supplies? Is that a,
Yeah.
oh, yep.
Well, if you compare the office supplies and the data processing to the 24, the full 24, 25, 12-month cycle, you have to remember that the other one is only a 9-month cycle as part of the difference there, too.
Yep, mhm.
So if you look at the 24, 25, there is an increase, but it's not as large of an increase from those.
Right, but the requested for office supplies is 20,000, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
mhm. It's down from previous 2 years ago.
Am I seeing that correct?
Yeah, in 24, 25, it was $27,000 for
Yes,
office supplies, so that's actually lower.
It was 27,601 and 2425.
Huh, what am I looking at? Okay, sorry, yeah, never mind. Disregard.
No worries.
My question was, what does contracted services include? Like, what are examples of the contracted
York County-
services?
York County billing us for the tax service.
Okay, so when they process the
Yeah,
taxes,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Every bill that's paid, they charge us a fee.
I'd like to see this, this budget and see a lot of the reductions in costs from previous years, such as professional services. We talked about office supplies, The dues and subscriptions, and then especially the IT expenses, so it's really nice to see that, and no major increases in this budget, so I'm good with it.
Anything else on admin?
Thank you.
All right. Go
Um,
go ahead.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
I know part of the CIPs were to do the ordinances, and you've got a little bit of a budget here to codify ordinances. Is that something that is just kind of a maintenance type
Yes,
thing?
it is. So we've got, unfortunately, we have not been billed for yet, and I'm hoping we will before the end of this fiscal year. We sent, in early January, we sent a host of ordinances that you'll see on our website as ordinances not codified to Municode to be codified. They are, Mia reached out to them a week or two ago, and they are in process, but they still have not codified them yet. And we won't get that invoice until they do codify them. Really wanting that done before June 30th. Otherwise, you're going to see it not spent this year, and then it's going to end up hitting next year, unfortunately. And then we always try to budget a nominal amount in there. And again, that's just maintenance for anticipated code updates. If council passes an ordinance that needs to be codified. We try to wait and do that once, so that we're not just piecemealing, sending. We may get into more of a process of doing that twice a year, just so we can get it done a lot
Okay.
quicker. But that's what that is. That's just keeping the code up to date as we're required to by law.
And I guess same question as I had with the copy machine contract, the cell phone contract. Is that something that is coming up for renewal? Do we know?
So
Is
we're-
it just
we're-
extended every year?
Yeah, we're with Verizon, and they have given us an amazing deal where, just to boil it down, not including the equipment cost, but just our plan is $39 a phone. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's, they've given us a great, and not every staff member has a cell phone. All of our folks that definitely work outside the office, our maintenance guys, law enforcement, they all have cell phones. Your department heads are all gonna have them and things like that. But somebody that's just 8:30 to 5 in the office all day long, they're not gonna have one, below the level of department head.
Municipal rate.
Hey, we're municipal.
If that is something that council wants added in, we can begin doing council cell phones if
Well,
you want.
considering that we're the only ones on there with 0 increases.
Yeah. You about to get into one that has 0 increase with development services. He's actually got a reduction, and I think Parks and Rec's the other one.
You don't want
So, Nick and Dustin are the winners, tonight. Nick and Dustin will be our winners tonight, so. All right, so let's dive into development services. Nothing more to say on the salaries and wages. We're fully staffed, not looking to add anybody there. One thing I did fail to mention on group insurance, we got word from the state that as they pass their budget, it looks like we're going to get a 4.9. Isn't that what it was, 4.9?
4 point, Doro's a 4.4?
Yeah, it's in their budget.
4% area.
Yeah, it's a little north of 4%, but less than 5% increase on the premiums.
But you're saying that's worked into the numbers we're seeing here?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But it's still a reduction, that's great.
But, yeah, Depending on single family, et cetera,
A reduction or increase?
It looks like a
It's
reduction to me.
it's an increase, but here it's a reduction, but a lot of that's going to depend on the employee and what they sign up for with their insurance, whether it's
Single
employee
family, et
only,
cetera.
employee child, or employee family.
Okay.
Who's
So-
working here now?
Yep.
That could change, of course, if somebody leaves.
2 years ago, we could have had somebody that was employee family, and they may have left, and now it's somebody that's employee only or employee child or something like that. So, what are your questions for Nick on development services?
The professional services, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so that's primarily made up going to our third-party building inspection company that we use. I believe that accounts for about 90%.
Yeah, it looked like about 54,000 for that. And they do if I remember correctly, they are contracted to do the new build
They
inspection.
do all of our
They do all of it
inspections.
now, okay. I just, what I wanted to clarify is which.
Jeremy still will go out and do some inspections, especially like with the Garrison or some of our commercial things like that, but primarily it's RCI, right? Yeah,
RCI, yeah.
RCI is doing all of our inspections.
The
Okay.
voting official, his primary job is customer service and plan review. So he's reviewing the plans to issue the permit. RCI is actually going out and doing.
So utilizing him more for the resident-facing contact points and then having
Exactly.
the
Somebody has an
contract to
issue,
handle the
Yeah,
more
somebody has
in
needs a
the field.
meeting, right, or an emergency comes up and, you know, hey, we don't have water or power, can you come? Exactly, yeah.
Tom got me first for professional services, but then the second one is I know you, but the next one is, it's a larger increase, and I know there's a reason, but the software maintenance for the increase of 45,898.
That's Evolve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Evolve is coming in this year, or next year?
So-
Okay.
Right, yeah. It began in October of '24, which was right at the end of the, yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Actually, it's showing a decrease if you annualize the 9 budget.
So you had
Is
your
that right?
first implementation fee, and now you're moving into the maintenance fee, which is less.
It's a 1,900% increase if you look at 24. In case you're wondering.
Yeah, 24, 25, you're showing what that maintenance fee was on Blueprints, which was our prior very antiquated software. And that's why, but as the mayor stated, yeah, as you annualize that 9-month, you're actually dropping off the initiation, installation piece of it, which is always more expensive. And then when you get down into the annual maintenance side of it, it always drops down on software.
But
Is-
the budget is still less than 24, 25 overall.
Yeah.
The
It's total
uniform,
budget.
Good.
Ma'am?
the cost of uniforms across the board seems to have gone up kind of in the same way as fuel. Is that just what we're seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Inflation.
Anything else for development services?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Good job, Nick.
Thank you.
So you're
Thank
down
you.
13,184.
13,184.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Cutting out comp plan helps a lot.
I was about to say, I was about to note that not having the comp plan for another.
That will be coming.
I would say that's 72,000 right
It
there.
definitely helps with sleep and rest.
But that will be coming.
Absolutely. We'll pick that up again in 5 years. All right.
Just see him strut off.
Yes.
You strutted off.
He did. Had a little pep in his step on that one. All right, Chief Crosby.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
I was going to ask Judge Simpson to come do mine, so there wouldn't be any questions, but I figured that one. I know,
Before y'all get into questions, I want to go ahead and point out, as we talked about Monday night at your meeting, on the boarding and lodging of prisoners, that figure is based on what the new rate per prisoner per day will be.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, what are your questions for Chief Crosby?
I know you have a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to help you out to begin with. How's that? So if you'll look at our tab that I submitted to you, and you'll look on that
Hold
I
sheet.
sent it, you didn't send it.
Or he sent you.
Hold on.
He sent you.
I have to move there.
So PD's pretty proud. We actually have a 24% decrease in our operation budget from 24-25 for what we're asking for from you for this year. So our last full budget is a 25% decrease almost.
Can you hold on for just a second? Let me pull it.
Sure.
No, that's not it.
Semantics. Cut that off.
This is in that folder where it has like TCPD, ACF.
Yes, sir.
And it
that's
has
the
all
one.
the tabs on the bottom?
Yes, sir. That one,
With
you
the
see
reimbursement.
summary
Okay,
at the
got it.
bottom. That summary tab will help you out there.
summary with reimbursement? Okay, there we go.
Now, see, that'll help Ms. Miller out, because that'll,
summary?
the one that says summary at the bottom.
First tab is summary, and the next one is summary.
There you go. I'll
Second
give
one.
$25 later.
There's two of them.
There's two of them. Do
You
this,
can
do the
together
second
with
one.
the
Yeah, do the second one.
Bam. There you go.
It's under the folder, Dropbox.
Bob, you good down there?
Or you can get it.
Good? You good?
My stuff.
I'm good, what's the
Okay,
matter?
I was just checking on you.
I'm fine.
Just checking on you.
Summary,
Yeah.
It's gonna be- Here, budget info. And then budget info again up here. And then we're gonna do the second PD, this one. And then the summary, right there. yeah.
And then
There
the
we go.
second tab for your reading pleasure later on, so the city manager doesn't kill me, will be the summary taking into consideration the reimbursement that we're expecting from the SROs.
Right.
And to Mayor Miller, to your point, that'll be for the uniforms, for the gas, travel, training, and some other expenses that we're anticipating getting money back for. There's some monies that we can't account for, because that's like some cell phone stuff they do pay for, they don't pay for everything. So it's hard to calculate everything, but that's what we anticipate bulk coming back to us. So I'm able to show that in that particular figure there.
Speaking of which, I'm almost positive on the revenue end, on the reimbursement end, that's just on salaries.
Yes, sir.
So it's not the other things related to the two SROs at the elementary school that we get reimbursed back on.
Beyond salaries, we're looking at about roughly $25,000 that we'll get back from uniforms, gas, travel, training, and software. Okay? Now, I'll take any other questions that you may have about line items that you want to talk about.
Let me go back to that. I gotta just go back and buy that one. There we go.
Your boat
The-
expense. So it's about a 50% increase from '24, but it's not much different than the '25. But what is it that we're doing with the boat?
Yes, ma'am. So if you go to that boat operation tab on the spreadsheet that was given from by the PD, you'll see we get about 6 fuels of 300 gallons of gas. It's about $1,875. We anticipate about $1,600 worth of maintenance and repairs. That's buying some new, like the new canopy, washing, waxing it, and making sure it looks really good for the summer season. Some additional equipment in case we have to buy new life jackets, things like that. And then we also pay a boat slip fee to the marina, which is $3,690. So that's where a large bulk of that comes in at for that total.
Okay. What is your operation timeframe for in the summer? Like, when are you out there, and is that predictable, or is that as needed?
So we go generally from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We try to cover the big weekends on the water. Or if this county or Charlotte Mech says, hey, we need some assistance, we'll try to be out on the water. But then we're definitely out on the water the big weekends, the 4th of July, things such as that.
I think you're going to be busy this year. Ebenezer's being open is like a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
We talked about this a little while ago in regards to buildings and ground maintenance, and that there's an increase of $12,000 from the previous full fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
Can you help us understand the,
Be glad to. And again, if you go
Thank you.
back to the buildings and grounds tabs that I provided to you, I have a breakdown. HVAC maintenance is $5,000, gate maintenance $2,000, generator maintenance $2,000. Various building repair maintenance is about $4,500. That's if we have any type of plumbing issues, electrical issues, changing out light bulbs. Because in the new building, we can't change just a light bulb. We have to change the whole fixture.
Okay.
They're several $100s a piece. We are asking for money for the painting of the interior of the building this year. Several offices need to be painted this year. Pressure washing the outside of the building. We do ask for a carpet cleaning because we do have so many special events, especially after our arts and crafts. Fire, life, safety inspections is $1,000. Miss Janet needs a new UV light in the server room. That's about $1,000. So that's what we're asking for this year. And all that's broken down under that tab.
thank you for the breakdown. Appreciate that, Chief.
Sure. And you'll see some PDFs beside that. If you open up the PDFs, that's the quotes that we got from the various vendors for you to see as well.
Chief, can you speak to the auto operation expense, between the summary tab and the police budget? So in the summary tab, we got auto operation expense of 94,000, but that, I don't see a separate fuel line item in the summary tab. Does that include?
Fuel is auto operation.
Okay, that's not included, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Okay, great. Just wanted that clarification, thank you.
Okay.
What's Project Lifesaver?
So Project Lifesaver is a project that we can offer to vulnerable adults or vulnerable kids. Let's say we have someone that has autism in our community, and we've had several searches to where kids have wandered off. Project Lifesaver is a band that they can wear. So they would call us, sign up for the program, their child would wear a band or the adult would wear a band, and then we actually have an antenna that we could go out with and track them. It drastically reduces the amount of resource that is needed and the time that is needed to try to find someone that's in a vulnerable state. So it's another community service that we're going to be trying to provide to our community.
So this,
That's a 6,000 rate.
Yes, sir. That gives us, I'm not being funny, but if you're a hunter, the things that you track your dogs with, the antennas, that's exactly what it is. So you
Same
have to
technology.
buy that equipment and then buy the bands and the cases and things that we would then use to give to our citizens.
And then where's the other 6,000 increase from?
So
last
as
year?
you know, this year we added our community officer, so we're having a lot more special events. So this year we added the Easter Bunny event, we're having the teens driving event, we're having a scam educational series. All of those things we're having to buy extra pamphlets and papers for. Plus, we're doing more and more give outs to where there be pamphlets, little frisbees or balls with our names on them, whatever the case may be. So that's to help us resupply those as we're doing those things. We also had the scooter event already this year. We're already, I think we're 40%, 35% ahead of this year than we were last year on community events.
for the Project Lifesaver, so obviously the equipment, is there a annual cost that will be associated with that moving forward?
It'll be very small, so that we'd have to
Okay.
go back if we use all of our bands and people sign up for them,
You'd have to restock them
we'd
at
have to
that
go
point.
back and restock the
But
bands.
but in terms of a maintenance cost, it would be, it's purely for the materials as needed for the
Yes, ma'am.
community, so it's gonna depend on the demand from the
Yes, ma'am.
community to sign up for the project.
Correct, and the cost is so high this time is because we're having to buy that electronic
the startup.
equipment to start it.
Okay, but obviously compared to the cost of an operations room for a missing person
Or if you-
operation
That's a
with
lot
all
of
hands on
people.
deck, that's a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of
You look at
over.
our last call out that we had for a missing juvenile, we had just about everybody with TCPD, we had York County detectives, we had the DEU, we had the horseback from the county coming. I mean, we had a massive amount of people that was here, that if the child or the adult has this band on, we're gonna drastically reduce that time.
Because
and
at that
the
point, it's
power
just
needed.
open it up.
Yes.
Look for the signal with
Yes.
regular officers initially,
Yes.
obviously. Okay, no, I think that's a fantastic program. I think that's a very smart use of resources.
Do you find that you might get some pushback on the use of it, like people wanting to have a band or wanting their child to have a band?
I've overseen this program before, and there was not, because it's a voluntary program. It's kind of like our Are You OK program for the senior citizens.
Oh,
in our
I
city.
understand it's voluntary, I'm just wondering.
So they get to choose to do it. It's just a way for us to help them and help them expedite finding their child, because there's nothing more scarier to me than your child, especially with someone with autism. They're attracted to water, so they're naturally going to navigate to the water. Sergeant Reap, I think it was last year, we had a child with autism that ran away, and we found him sitting beside the water on a log.
Yeah.
And so time is critical for things such as that.
In your repair and maintenance, I think it's repair and maintenance vehicles.
The vehicle maintenance?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have repair and maintenance various for 30,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that just,
Yes, ma'am. If you'll look down, I've listed for you tires, how much the tires cost for 1 and for 4, how much an oil change cost, how much brakes cost, how much wipers cost. So that's general maintenance and repairs for the vehicles that we're having. And then also, if we have an auto accident, the charges for that accident goes onto that line item as well. So that's why sometimes you'll see that line item inflated, because that is automatically charged to that line item. Hopefully, we're not at fault.
The repairs and maintenance equipment, and it's dropped drastically, like $98,000, so there's only a requested budget for $6,000. But under that tab that you provided, it doesn't have any specifics.
Dana?
So that one, I spoke with Ms. Dana about today, and that was an adjustment by the auditors.
Okay?
So last year's budget, we spoke on that today, we only spent, in 24-25, we only spent $4,364. So it has stayed around that $6,000 mark since I've been here. What that is for is we utilize that for, let's say, a radar unit goes out, and we have to send that off to get repaired. We will fix that antenna using that budget. Let's say we have a broken printer, or we need a cable, or anything that's not the functioning of the car. We have a blue light that goes out, the handheld mic for the radio goes out, or something like that. We would use that money to make those repairs with.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, I noticed on your repairs and maintenance, what's the upfit and stripping of old fire truck?
So the fire department, if you remember when they got their new red truck, we got their old truck that they had, because we have the cone and trailers to push around with. So instead of buying a new one, we just got their truck. So we had to, I mean, I love the fire department, but we had to take the red stuff off to get blue stuff on. So that's why we're
And
asking. because-
that particular truck started off in Public Works
Yeah,
That's the one
and phased over to Fire Department. Now it's phased over to PD.
yes, sir. So we use that for our cones, our barricades, and then to move the message board around.
How long did it take you to get your budget into the detail that you got it?
10 to 15 minutes.
Maybe two.
Yeah. But I have to give my team credit. It's not just me. Major Patterson, Shannon Washington, Captain Holland, and I really got to give Major Patterson credit. Every Monday, we have a command staff meeting, and one of the things that we do is we pull the QS1 report, and he gives an update of where we're at on our expenditures, how much we have left, what is forecasting for the future. So he is in charge of that, does a great job, and without him, it wouldn't be where it's at. So I cannot take all the credit for this. They do a great job with this and helping us put it together.
That's good stuff. I have all my questions answered.
Nothing for me.
Anything else for PD?
I got one general thing, not about PD, but cell phones for everybody. I just want to make sure I understand. You said $40 a line.
Yes. And then you've also got some equipment cost. Phone gets damaged, we got to buy a new one, things like that. That goes into the cell phone line item, but just your usage charge is $39 and change per use per month.
If I use PD as an example, though, it's 34,000. So if you take
So,
$40 times,
but what if you look at ours, if you go to that tab that I gave to you?
Tab?
Yes, sir. It's broken down. You've got GTEX, which is our computers. Some of our computers have internet. For those that don't, we have to have Cradle Points, which gives them the internet connection.
And
There's
the
a
patrol
monthly
cars.
charge for all of those, then our cell phones. And then we have 2 cameras that we use for special events at the parks and things that we pay services for. That's where the 34,000 comes from.
all right, yeah, I was trying to see how I added up.
Right, yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anything else for Chief?
No, it's very helpful to have
Um,
the details.
I do want to, sorry, Chief, before you go, we failed to talk about it in detail with Public Works or with Development Services. But on the capital side, with the 3 police vehicles, any questions or anything you have for Chief on that? Again, it would be selling and taking out of the fleet 2 patrol and then 1 admin.
And
So
this
not
is-
growing the fleet, it's
This is
just,
just the rotation schedule that you've already set up,
That's
so
where
the
the sales is,
the three
that each
anticipated
staff is
rotating out, okay.
Yes.
I would like to, I think it's the same question, yeah. When we looked at the fleet, there were, I think, 2, maybe 3 that said unassigned vehicles
those
as
are down
listed on
south.
there. So is that, can those, that's for new people that we haven't hired?
that's for people where we have openings right
Okay,
now.
but we're not using them right? We're not using those
So you-
vehicles. We're not
you've got
planning on hiring new
Three that we
people.
bought this year that aren't in service. So we haven't been able to take 3 out. And then we still have openings, open positions, and we'll be eliminating 3 other vehicles that have reached that age and
That's in the
mileage
spreadsheet.
threshold.
It shows 3 new, 3 to be sold, but then the 2 unassigned. We were wondering,
The 2 unassigned, one of those went to the Class 3 that he was, the 2 Class 3 officers that we have that do the school crossing. And then the other one we use as a spare. So like right now, we had a car that went down with a engine problem. We had to send it to the shop, so they had to drive one of the old cars, one of the unassigned cars. So to answer your question, Ms. Miller, is as of today, we only have 1 opening, which we're looking at conditional offers for that. So those vehicles will be assigned or have been assigned. And so all of our vehicles are accounted for with the exception of the 2 spare cars that we have, which really they're not spares. One is being used by the Class 3 and one is being used as technically a spare car.
Yeah, I think we've historically had at least 1 or 2 spares for the exact reason that Chief talked about. When a vehicle goes down, or if they're in a wreck, there's a transition period, and to be able to have a vehicle that we can plug them into where they can continue doing their work is critical, especially in PD. Probably more so than anywhere else, for sure.
not to nitpick, but would it make sense that the Class 3 officer, couldn't his car be the spare? I'm just looking at the big picture, trying to save money.
His car is a spare car.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so, but why do we need another spare?
Bec-
Why can't his car serve as a spare?
Because if you take that car out of the commission, then I have nobody going to Windjammer Park or doing school crossings in the morning time and afternoon times because they can't get there. So if I have 2 spare cars and me and you are on the road, I have one that serves as a spare for the officers. If I take this spare car out and make them not drive a car, they have nothing to drive to get to school crossings, and they have nothing to drive to get to Windjammer, the parks to do parking enforcement.
And that's what you gotta do it when they're not.
Yes, sir. That's why you see the enforcement numbers go up for the parking enforcement at Windjammer, Catawba, and Pitcairn and stuff like that, because that's part of their duties as well.
For your community events and the giveaways and all of that you have going on, do you see that expense as something that is going to continue to increase, or do you see that as what you have will work?
I see it as plateauing out and could possibly decrease depending on how we see what is going well, what's not going well as we do this for about a year or 2. Because if we stop having attendance at certain events, we can phase those events out and put something else in that maybe, let's take like the Easter egg thing. If we do it for 2 years and the attendance is not there, then we phase that out and maybe do another educational piece. So I see it plateauing, maybe possibly decreasing depending on what we have filling in those voids.
Okay.
Anything else for Chief? Good? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other chief, your turn. Go from one chief to the next. Go from the blue to the red.
Yes.
Good evening.
Chief?
All right, so what questions y'all have for Chief Hasty on fire?
I don't know what it's doing.
Mine does the same thing.
It's trying to print.
No idea.
One note, and it's okay. And then I'll cut it out from there.
I'm a Mac girl. I don't understand this.
Me too, Mayor.
You too? Yeah.
Yes.
This is like very archaic.
While they're doing that, I did have one question. So we have a contribution for the volunteer fire department line. Could you just describe to me what specifically that money is used for? Because it doesn't look like it's gone up significantly, but I'm just curious for my own knowledge
Yeah,
sake of
absolutely.
where that's going.
So we give them, basically the money's used to cover insurance. So they carry insurance. They still have a few pieces of equipment that we don't own, as well as the building. So the slight increase you see is actually an insurance cost
Okay.
increase.
And this is our in-house volunteers?
It's Station 2.
At Station 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
so Station 2, the building, TK Volunteer Fire Department, Inc. still owns that.
Yeah,
And
okay.
basically, this is a a pass-through insurance cost.
Okay,
For the building,
since
for
we're
us
using the
staying
building.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for,
So we occupy that building.
I appreciate that, because I was
Yeah.
like, there's other volunteer fire departments, I just wanted to make sure I
Yep.
understood where that
Yep.
was going. Thank
Yep, that's what that is.
Chief, my question is in regards to travel and training. There's a pretty large increase from before, up to 33,000 now. Can you help us understand what that increase is due to?
Let me jump back to travel and training. I got a few tabs. So
All good.
I printed it. So I too have concern about IT. Thank you very much, Dana. So I printed. So we've had some changes. As we increase staff, our class registrations have gone up some. And we've been very fortunate, and we've talked before about Apprenticeship Carolina. We always put the money in here to pay for people to go to those classes. We've been fortunate that in many cases we've gotten grant money. We continue to get grant money. We've got 3 in EMT class now. That's $2,000 a person that we didn't have to pay for. So that money sits. It virtually rolls every year. We roll money back into travel and training because we're not having to use it. We're getting grant money to cover that. So some of that is just some cost increases. We've seen some cost increases at the community college level, who provides us our EMT continuing education, as well as some cost increases from other vendors that are providing us the extra training, the skilled certification training that we have to cover.
Thanks, sir.
Your fuel increases hurt.
Yes, they do. So I'll tell you, and Dana can tell you better where we are. We just bought fuel. We're using about 600 gallons a month. And we have, the price at the pump is $5.69. We paid $5.42 for it. The month previous, we were in the $3 range. So the tank at Station 1 is paying huge dividends for us.
Oh, you got your own storage.
We do. We've got a 1,000-gallon tank there. Yeah.
But it's a little bit less than what you
Yeah.
pay.
So we're at 14,275 year to date. We can't ever project. I think we put $5 a gallon for diesel
Or $4.50,
and
$4.50 or $5.
in gasoline, of course. What hurts us a little bit is we have to put fuel in the boat. It's about $7 a gallon at the marina. So, that hurts us a little bit. And we are running. We had a jumper the other day that we responded to up north of us. Yeah. Yeah. So, we respond mutually with them. So we are moving some with a boat. So
How often do you go out on that boat?
it's hit and miss, just like the police department. Between probably May and September, we're out more frequently, just like events and that kind of stuff. Goat boater, they're getting ready to have the dam to dam. So we'll go out and support them from the time they get to Windjammer all the way into the beach club. Just because at that point they've got people that are paddling that may or may not be in the best shape. We're there for EMS support for them. We do those kind of things. I won't say that we're out all the time. It's intermittent. So you guys know that we've had some drownings and things over the last few years, but we've been able to make an impact, and that boat's been great for us.
When you're doing that, I guess escorting, like the boat, what is it, the boat holder? what is it?
Goat boaters.
Go
Goat.
butter? Yes.
Yeah.
It's a paddle board.
Is that just as a community outreach that
It
you
is.
do that? Okay.
It is.
I think that for supplies, there was, a decent increase in that. What do you put under your supplies? Because what I'm noticing is that some people put computers in supplies and others do it on IT, and so there's not like a consistency there.
Yeah, so ours is, if you look at it, and some of our difference is we've got, people live in the fire station, so cleaning supplies, mechanical supplies, we've seen, unfortunately, we've seen an uptick, and we're having to buy more things for HVAC. HVAC's been wearing us out lately. Some of that's equipment repair, some of that's supplies that we have to make sure that we're, for an example, we have a carbon monoxide detector that's involved in that. Just the cow gas is $350. So all that's going to roll into that line item, and that's everything. That's office supplies, station cleaning supplies, truck wash, it's everything.
Is that where you also have like your food supplies that you keep?
No, ma'am, the firefighters buy their own
But
food.
they're, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No
not a
idea.
budgeted thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got cleaning supplies and that kind of stuff. A lot of cancer initiative things. There's specific wipes, Cavicide, and those kind of things that we use for post-fire events to make sure our firefighters are clean and taken care of.
Good.
Okay.
Chief, what's the driver between the EMS, the increase in EMS fee?
I'll be honest with you, it's pretty much a pass-through cost. We've seen an increase across the board in supplies. Gloves have gone up tremendously, medical gloves. Our call volume's gone up a little bit, but we're seeing pretty substantial increases in medical supplies, and we shop those a bunch to see if we can get the best price.
Yeah.
But supplies are getting us.
Seems
That
to be
also
the-
includes the drug cash that
Yes,
they
it
carry.
is a drug cash too.
Okay.
And
So,
No, I was just
you-
curious. It's not a huge
oxygen,
amount.
I mean, all of that,
Yeah.
it's all encompassing. AEDs, batteries, a battery for an AED is about $600. So,
Goodness.
AED pads, $300. So it's, you start looking at that under a microscope, it's pretty expensive, but it's a necessary cost.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I was gonna say, I think from your last report, you're at around 50% EMS calls.
We are.
Pretty, yeah.
It's a-
So
it's
so
a
it's a
pretty
pretty
even break for
significant,
us,
and
yeah.
I know when I was talking to some Fort Mill folks, they're up to like 75% on EMS for
Yeah.
theirs, so we're even lower than them.
Yeah, we are.
And obviously, you have regulations that require certain things have to be replaced on certain schedules, which I just want to say thank you for the overtime explanation, because I had looked at that increase, but that being a
Yeah.
mandatory, like, that's not negotiable.
No,
That's a,
Yeah. Fire
regulation.
department's the only department where it's actually scheduled overtime.
yeah, and the explanation there was
There,
really
and
good
then
for that.
our police dispatchers, because they're 8-hour employees, but they have to work a 12-hour shift. And with fire, to eliminate their scheduled overtime, we'd have to hire an entire fourth shift, where fire has 3. Just the way the scheduling works, we'd have to hire an entire extra shift, which is going to cost a lot more than
Yeah,
just
but-
doing the scheduled overtime.
But I appreciate you including the legal side of it for us, because
Yeah,
obviously for a
absolutely.
resident looking at this, they'd go, why are we doing so much overtime? Not
Yeah.
understanding this is not people actually doing overtime per se. This is a mandated requirement for your department to function.
yeah.
I'm sure they enjoy that. Sometimes they want their time off.
Yeah,
I know all
it's a
about it.
double-edged sword, right?
Scheduled overtime sometimes blood money. I don't wanna be here.
Yes, yes. What other questions y'all have for Chief? Good.
Thank you.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief. Dustin, you're up, bud. And as Dustin's coming up, the park attendant at Windjammer started, you said last weekend?
Fantastic.
So,
Thank you.
How many?
5.
Oh, okay.
And it's gonna only increase.
so,
Wasn't there like over 100 one time? It was just like really crazy.
The heat of the summer.
yes.
Yeah.
So your overall Parks and Rec budget, you're showing a decrease of almost $60,000 from 24-25 to this coming fiscal year. And with that, we'll turn it over to council for any questions you may have for Dustin.
Before y'all get started, I just want to make a quick note. If y'all are comparing the actual 24-25 to the requested, I just want to say that the park maintenance at 161,822, 60,000 of that should have been in capital outlay. So we didn't go over $60,000 in park maintenance, just a FYI. So I noticed that this morning or this afternoon, and I was like, I want to make sure I note that. Oh, okay, auditor adjustment, I guess. Because I was looking at that, I'm like, there's no way I went over that much. So just in case that was going to be a question.
Yes.
All right, my computer froze. Which line was it that you talked about?
Park maintenance.
Okay.
Park maintenance, if you're looking at the 24-25 actual.
Okay, gotcha.
Questions for Parks and Rec?
answered mine.
The park attendant budget,
Mm-hmm.
is there a mistake in there? Because
No,
you-
that,
Did it go down?
No, so
No.
we used to have our part-time help was included in that line item. We've moved the part-time help up into salaries and wages, and that way, this is your true cost for
Gotcha.
the park
Okay.
attendant at
I was
Windsor.
trying to figure that out. Thank you.
We split that out for starting this fiscal year.
We spent about 10 minutes trying to figure that out.
Maybe they didn't do.
Sorry, no. We've actually added.
Bob and Dana would make that mistake.
We've added more time, more dates with the park attendant since we've started. Because I think the first year, Dustin, wasn't it, it was Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. And as you see now, we've actually started before we've even gotten to May.
And it's, what days are that?
Saturdays and
Saturdays,
Sundays.
mhm.
When holidays, there are some there, some Fridays.
Or Monday, depending
Yeah,
on when the
Monday
holiday
too,
is.
yeah.
Yep.
Your supplies actually went down compared to what everybody else's did.
So with the supplies, we stayed fairly consistent across the board. You'll notice that there's a couple of things that we took out of supplies to make them more noticeable, like professional services. Those are our coaches, our volunteer coaches' background checks. So those are being put in supplies because, as you can see, there's not a background check line item. So we wanted to make sure that was pulled out. And your recreation equipment, that's why you see a little bit of an increase there because we moved our recreation metals into that line item. So we wanted to make sure we were capturing supplies as opposed to those items. So stayed pretty consistent, but as you mentioned, it wasn't a significant increase.
And your vehicle lease, you've got a requested of $33,520 compared to $15,000 for the 9-month and
That-
$15,000 for the.
That's the payment based on the things that were
Kind of discussion.
purchased this year.
Last
Okay.
year.
So it's showing that payment.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
okay.
Why the big drop in contract ground maintenance?
That would be the landscaping services. So
Okay.
when we rebid it, they came back significantly lower.
Got it.
The consolidation that we had talked
Yeah.
about when they put the two Catawba
Exactly.
together.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What will you do with all that savings?
Oh, he's got it in there, don't you
I
worry.
would say, yeah, that's later.
Don't you worry, Carmen.
He's got it in there. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that's a capital request.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I was being very sarcastic.
I took that for the truth.
So we can, if you want, if there's not any operational questions, we can flip over to the capital outlay or capital request from Parks and Rec. You've got a pickup, a front-end loader, and the equipment trailer. Dustin, why don't you talk through those items specifically?
Sure. So the first one, a lot of these ones I touched on a little bit already on the capital improvement plan when we had that meeting. So the pickup is going to be a replacement of number 29. So that one, as I so eloquently put, it is nearing 21 years old. It has over 140,000 miles on it.
4 more years, you get antique plates.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Kelly, or the Edmunds says it's about $3,000 in actual value right now. We put in about $600 to $700 on average per year in terms of maintenance. So it's gonna replace that vehicle, but in addition, that's really gonna help us with our hauling and moving people around, because it is gonna be a 4-door. We don't currently have the capabilities to haul big items. That is in conjunction with the haul trailer. I'll jump to that one. Right now, so things like our rough mower that's at Catawba Park, or a sprayer that you see sometimes driving down TK, which shouldn't be, picking up pallets of sod, things of that sort. We don't have the capabilities to do that at the moment. If we are in dire straits and need to, we've used staff vehicles and staff trailers, which we really don't want to do. So we haven't been able to purchase a trailer that can be hauled. So this vehicle is not only going to replace a vehicle, but it's going to give us additional capabilities to get that trailer as well. So those are going to be used in tandem. The front loader, it's something that we've talked about a lot. So currently, it's a front loader that we have, that Public Works currently has. We went through and had it completely looked at it by CAT to see what it would take to get it fully operational. So just for comparison, new tires is $4,000 alone. There's like 4 sheets that they pulled with stop signs that run the length of each sheet. We're estimating probably anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 worth of maintenance that would be required just to make it operational. So you're looking at over $10,000 that we would have to put in just for maintenance in that vehicle. So as opposed to coming to you with an astronomical number for a new front loader, we tried to get a little creative. We're attempting to do a trade in value with that, and then also use that additional money to purchase a used equipment. So one of the things staff was able to find is that with that money, we can get a newer machine, less hours, and an upgraded machine. It would just be used. So instead of purchasing a brand new one, we want to at least have that capabilities because, as Tim mentioned this morning, their loader is actually down right now. So we have 2 departments that have no front loaders to be able to use at the moment. So that's the request there. We want to at least try and get a working vehicle so we can continue working on our projects. So those are the 3 equipment vehicles. Do y'all have any questions on those before I move into projects?
So the front end loader roughly for a used one, including a trade-in, is roughly 35,000?
So we would get, when we looked at it, it was around 15 to 20 for trade-in value. That was the initial, and then we would use that additional 35 to find
To find something around 50 or so?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That'd be the additional cost to find something that would be worth purchasing used.
Okay.
Brand new, that's a high dollar piece of equipment, for sure. So being able to get a refurbed one with the trade-in value and, our out-of-pocket only being 35,000 is a fantastic deal.
Yeah.
And not attempting to put any type of pressure or anything like that, but, as the years goes on, if we continue to wait on this, obviously the trade-in value will go down, and we would more than likely need to put in that additional funding to make it operational, so.
And this one, the new used one would be big enough that when Public Works, if there's down, they could use it too if they had to.
If they needed, if they asked nicely, we might.
Well, y'all are still
Yeah.
vehicle sharing to a degree, correct? In terms,
equipment,
because I remember
yeah.
there was a discussion of like 3-2, like the day splits for some of these equipment. So this would help to split some of that up, so y'all aren't having to schedule your projects around each other. And then one goes down and like you said, there's no service for either of you whatsoever.
Correct, when they're doing their brush pickup or things of that sort, when they're doing any of those, the vehicle is not usable for us, so we would put our projects on hold.
And brush season here is very long.
So it would definitely help our department, and then if needed, they could use it as well.
Yeah, appreciate your financial stewardship and thinking outside the box and looking for creative solutions there.
I will not take credit for that at all. It was passed along to me by my staff. I have really good staff, so.
Awesome. Well, thank you
I
for
just
it.
tried to tell y'all what they tell me.
Thank you.
Dust, go ahead and touch on the projects
Yeah.
that you've got listed there.
So, let me jump through here. So the first one. I'll pass these around. So the first one is going to be your park action plan. So I'm going to pass around the projects that we'd like to complete this year. We have one more project on this park action plan. It will be Windsong Bay Park. This one you'll see Runny Park will be getting a pretty massive need with the fencing and the backstop being replaced. That was part of the capital improvement plan, so it's not double. So if you see it on the capital improvement plan, that is that project here on the park action plan. So we do hit a couple of different parks. One of the ones that we really also would like to complete this year is Trailhead Park. For those of you that don't know, it's one of the most used parks in TKK. It is always packed. People love messing around in the bathroom, so we want to make sure we renovate that to try and minimize any of the vandalism and really make sure that it's a nice restroom for people to use. So.
Didn't we, it was right at the end of Mayor O'Neill's, didn't we just replace the Rundy backstop? Because there was a sinkhole, we moved it. and put
That
it
was
in there?
Turner.
Turner Field.
Oh, Turner.
Yeah, that was
okay.
at Turner.
Yeah. Thinking of the wrong
This
place.
is this backstop replacement is on the big field at Rundy.
Okay.
That's currently I-beams. I'm not sure who thought that was a good idea 40 years ago. So those will have, actually, cutting those to remove them will be quite the chore, but that backstop is in dire straits. It can't be repaired based on the way it's constructed.
We've pulled the curling of the backstop down as many times as we possibly could. So that would replace that, and then also the perimeter fencing as well, which is in need of replacement. Any questions on the park action plan?
For run day, is there any plans, and I may have missed it somewhere else, for the playground space as well? Because this obviously is encompassing the irrigation, the field, the backstop, but.
So this doesn't include the playground.
Okay.
Currently, Ms. Miller and I are still working on a park grant.
Yes, thank you. That's the
that we
one.
haven't heard back yet. So if that does
Yeah.
come into it.
He's helping
Oh,
too.
excuse me.
Yeah.
I
I remembered a previous conversation, I remembered a previous conversation about that, so I just wanted to verify, I wasn't just remembering that that's, that one is in its own little
Correct,
category
yes.
right now, because there's a look at grant money
Correct.
for that,
If we were
so.
to be awarded the PARG grant, it wouldn't come out of
Okay, thank you for reminding me where to look for that.
Absolutely.
And as I said when I was talking revenues, if that grant's awarded, then you'll see a PARD revenue line item, and then you'll see
Yeah, I saw
that
the blanked out
expense
one,
line
so
item.
thank you.
It'll wash
I
out.
just brain farted on that.
And PARD is a 80-20 grant, so we would have a 20% match involved with that.
Which would be, if we get the full grant, would be 60,000, would be our responsibility.
And we're still waiting on I don't remember the name of it, but the grant for Windhaven.
Yeah, so I
Right.
can give you an update whenever you want, if you want me to do it now.
Sure.
That's fine. So, I may have mentioned it before, but I was told that we were ranked the 5th or 6th highest out of 24 grants, which she said was the most grants that they've seen in years. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They told everybody. and-
Yeah, so,
yes.
so it very, very, good chances. So when I met with her, she said, we can't say for sure yes or no, but she said that we're in a very good spot, and we're working through our, NPS, so the Park Service, review right now for compliance. So.
And that's going to be granted in June?
So based on what she said, they mentioned that we should hear more if, where we're on, or, where we are in line in terms of that in the summertime, but they wouldn't start awarding until the fall. I
Okay.
believe it's either September or October.
I think it's October, yeah.
That would be amazing.
The Heron Harbor Park, that's the one when you come in on the left, that little place?
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the
okay,
park,
that's
yeah,
what we transferred
correct.
to.
Any
All
other
right.
questions? Thank you.
So,
Let's touch on the other
sorry.
projects.
Oh, I can touch on it.
This right here is what your project plan is for next year based on the budget that you have. Yeah,
Correct.
okay,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
So, moving on to the medium power Stonecrest, I know I touched on this a little bit on the CIP. That would be from Dam Road down to Stonecrest. Obviously, as Charlie mentioned it earlier, that would be adding your power, so we'd be able to do uplighting and then Christmas lights. That is a fully contracted price right there to install it and then set your meters and all that good stuff.
Would this extend to the roundabout, lighting the roundabout also?
It wouldn't go to the roundabout, no, ma'am.
It would go to the roundabout the Grove will be installing, but not the roundabout at Hubert Graham Way. Correct.
That raises a question. I mean, I love the idea of doing the lighting, but does it make sense to do it now? Is the Grove gonna be doing anything that could affect it? Should we wait a year?
No, we'll be able to touch on that,
Okay.
because it'll stop short of that roundabout. And we've already requested that the developer include conduits,
But when
where
they're doing their
necessary.
curb cuts and stuff like that, I think.
No, it won't damage
we're
it.
good.
They're not gonna be in the median where we're putting the power.
You're thinking this.
Yeah, and then moving on, I know, again, I mentioned this already, but the pickleball courts, this would be adding additional, it would be adding a walkway, a concrete walkway for ADA accessibility. This also would be to replace an electrical panel that was here before Tim, as he mentioned that, if you can believe that. And then it would also replace the fencing around the facility. It is currently rusted, so it will add additional exit points as well for ADA accessibility. So that would be that project. And then the monument renovation, it looks like that was added after the CIP plan, or CIP meeting. That renovation would be to tackle all the monuments that we are in charge of. So redoing the landscaping, repainting, brickwork, things of that sort. And that would be a multi-year plan that we would work down from the back up to the front of TKK.
I do have a question on that.
Sure.
So we just voted to do the monument coming into the golf club, and it was $11,000 for materials, and then the city is providing the labor. This is $20,000 to update one that's already there. I'm just curious why there's such a big difference in cost. I know that you said that if we were paying an outside person to do the golf course one, it would be about $30,000. So if the city is doing the work on these, what is the $20,000 expense for just updating what's already there?
So this one would be almost a complete renovation, in terms of, we would be removing landscaping, we would be adding landscaping to it, painting, pressure washing, and then replacing lighting. So it's a little bit more extensive than the one that would be at the golf course, but the golf course would be mostly material cost. This one would be more material cost.
And as a follow-on to that, so a multi-year plan, so the 20,000 is going to pay for just the work done in this next fiscal year?
Correct.
Just on Anchorage. So you've
For the
got,
Anchorage
Right, so we'll
monuments.
have a
we call it
recurring-
Anchorage 1, and then you've got the one at Mariners Court, that's Anchorage 2. That would be the next one, and then we would work our way down TK.
So we'll fund this as a recurring expense?
Yeah.
every year, okay.
And from my understanding, based on the quotes, the Anchorage monuments would be the most expensive ones, because they're larger. So
Okay.
we
It
would
is,
work
yeah.
our way down.
Great, thank you.
And more landscaping.
Will you have a rendering of what this is going to look like before and after? Just because I get what you're saying about cost of removing landscaping, but I'd like to be able to kind of visualize what the $20,000 is going to get us.
Yeah, we can absolutely, so when we did do a rendering a few years ago when we were looking at replacing all of them at one time through our previous landscaping contractor. Now that was like $200,000 or so. Like it was very significant. And that was like a full rebuild. I don't think that style necessarily would fit in this situation. So I can go do what I can to try and get you some type of rendering as to what this one would look like.
Okay. And is the thought that we're going to keep the same look of all of them? We're just going to update them, repaint them, power wash them?
Yeah, so if we were gonna do like tear it down and rebuild it, it would be significantly more expensive. So we would still keep the same shape. It would just be updating it, painting it, and then, like I said, updating some landscaping and taking out some landscaping. A big cost of a lot of these ones are gonna be tree removal, especially over there, just because that's not something that us as staff can accomplish. So that's baked into the cost as well as tree removal. And, you know, as Bob mentioned earlier, everything keeps going up in cost. So tree removal is one of those things, so.
Yeah.
I was going to say, 20,000 seems expensive to, no, I'm just not talking, it seems expensive just to update an existing, I mean, I want it to be nice, but it doesn't need to be, you know, Taj Mahal entrance. It is, I mean,
And to your point, this is, like I said, this would be a complete game-changing, difference-making looking type of monument outside of tearing it down and rebuilding it. So if council's direction more so is just to, you know, paint it and not really add anything, we can always do that. But this would be your option in terms of really trying to renovate those monuments. So
I think that's where
depending
the
on your
visual
appetite.
comes in, because I'm having, I need to be able to see what 20,000 is going to get me before I decide that maybe 10,000 would do, right?
Sure.
We can work to get you that
Yeah.
as quickly as we can. Sure.
And again, this would be a project, if y'all wanted to hold off, we can absolutely hold off until next budget as well. So it's not a pressing project, but if your interest is to continue to upgrade those facilities, we can try and move as quickly as we can to get you those renderings if you want to move.
Yeah, I think, if not an itemized, somewhat sort of a breakdown, to Mayor Miller's point, to see, what we're paying for. Is it tree removal that's driving the cost more than, some other?
So just
Yeah.
kind of just looking at our rough estimate that staff was able to put together, removing trees would cost $7,000. So it's not a nothing expense, so that would be a big portion of it as well. And the actual landscaping and things of that sort was estimated at 12. So, to kind of give you an idea as to
Yeah.
what those breakdowns would be.
Great, no, thank you.
Yes, yes, we would do it in-house.
And the main Anchorage is obviously one of the largest neighborhood monuments that the city owns, as compared to the other monuments that the city owns and is responsible for. That is the largest one.
I actually just had a question about, so one of the items that has dropped down into the red that we had discussed at the CIP was the Turner Field lights. And you had given us a pretty good overview of like, that's another one that's kind of on the rough, if they go out type deal. Is that from a change in your comfort level, feeling like we can get another year out of this? Because obviously that's a very large item. That's a large project that would eat up a lot of the budget. I'm just curious, what's our risk at not addressing that in terms of like the lights
If I
going out
can,
during the season?
I'll touch on that real
Yeah.
quickly.
I was just curious for some of the
as to
logic
why
from
I'm not
that.
recommending it. One, primarily is because it is a estimated $350,000 number.
Yeah, it's a big number.
My thought process on it is if it got to that critical juncture where the lights went out, then we would come to council for a request to pull that from reserves and
Okay.
fund it and repair it at that point.
Yeah, because we
in time.
discussed that's the scenario we would find ourselves in if this failure that we were concerned about happens, which I'm not opposed to as a result. I just was curious what the comfort level was with that risk of taking that.
Yeah, and it's it's tough to put on a risk level, a risk percentage in terms of how quickly it could go out. It's one of those things that we have patched as much as we possibly could. Could another patch get us through until we have to do it? Potentially.
Okay.
But based on what we saw, it was more so I wanted to make council aware that it is coming.
Okay.
So could it happen tomorrow? I really, really hope not.
We could have another
But
flood.
we want to make sure that we're preparing for it because it is something that's coming
Okay,
up.
but
That's
so-
why it wasn't pushed as a priority this year because it was
Versus the
patched.
backstop and doing some of the other work
Correct.
first there, because obviously that's one of our older perks. So there's plenty to pick from there, but I just wanted to understand the logic for that.
Yeah,
so that
and
we
is there
could-
an estimate, how long would it take if it were, an urgent issue?
So if it was an urgent issue and we were doing a full renovation, it would take quite some time.
So
So
it-
this renovation would be to really redo the underground lines, to replace the halogens into LEDs. Like, it's a full renovation of that facility. To patch it, we usually can do it they can do it in a couple days,
Right.
depending on the issue. So ideally, as we plan for this and it's set aside and allocated for the budget, we would try to do it during the winter time or summertime whenever there's no programming going on, so we can make sure that the
Right.
impact is very limited.
So it essentially shut down a season
Correct,
if we
yes.
had to, okay, yeah.
Any other questions for Dustin, operationally or otherwise?
No, thanks again for pinching those pennies on the
Yeah,
operational side, yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
So, fantastic. Thank you, council. I'll see you back next week.
All right, so I've got Joey coming up for one particular line item in non-departmental. This is the last area of general fund. In here is where all your bonds are, our expense on trash collection, streetlights, things of that nature. Our overall computer maintenance as far as software license fees, things of that nature. Or the city's responsibility on stormwater expense. All of those are in your non-departmental budget. But I've asked Joey to come up based on some emails with some council members today, specifically about the wildlife management. As those that reached out, obviously, we did not specifically put funds in there, but Joey has had conversations with Mr. Henderson that has performed the culling for us for the last 2 years? 2 years? So, Joey, if you want to touch on that, please.
Sure. I've had a few conversations with some of you offline in preparation for tonight, and willing to go into whatever level of detail you'd like to regarding deer, whether it's full on like, hey, what are we observing? What are the numbers telling us? To just strictly what could next year look like, depending on what the survey results. From a staff perspective, I would recommend carrying over at least 6,000 of that for a deer survey from our the vendor we've used the last several years. With Dr. DiNicola's team, we added the new transects this past time. So as part of the updated survey that would anticipate on being end of August, early September, I would recommend continuing with the old transects, but adding the new transects and continuing that process for at least another 2 years. And then once we have 3 years of data with the new transects, then everything starts turning towards that, because now you have kind of historical data that you can pull off of. So at a minimum, I would recommend at least 6,000 in that line item. I've had a few conversations with Dave Henderson about what next year could possibly look like if council gave some type of direction to Cole again. And essentially what we'd be looking at is 4 nights of service with the hope of getting to 40 deer based off of what he's seeing out in the field. Obviously, that's going to be dictated by survey numbers as well, but based off of what he saw last time he was there, it would be his recommendation to be here for 4 nights with the expectation of getting to 40. The challenge with that is that his cost is going to be at 40 deer, regardless of whether he gets the 40 deer. So you're looking at a cost of $25,600 for 4 nights, because in order for it to be worth his time and his processor's time, that's what it's going to cost, factoring in $500 per deer and $140 per deer for the processor. Obviously, there may be some wiggle room depending on Catawba Indian Nation covering some of those fees, but to be clear, the $25,600 would just be for his 4 nights to hopefully get to 40 deer, and if there's any deer that's over that amount, it'll be $640 per deer after that. So it's one of those things where it's tough, but I also understand his perspective as well, because our success has led to decrease in efficiencies and an increase in the cost per deer. So that's where we're at, and as y'all know, it's a interesting situation, because if you look at the city as a whole, you've seen dramatic changes in a majority of the city, but there are still areas, pockets in the deeper sections of the peninsula that's still feeling that strain, whether it's through tag deer or simply because we don't have the green spaces that allow Dave to successfully conduct culls. So those are kind of the challenges that we're facing as what I would view as shifting into another phase for this upcoming year. And I specifically asked him, what's your recommendation? He said you can go about this 1 or 2 ways in his opinion. You can obviously let the data serve as a important guide. But his recommendation is you can either keep skimming every year and, take what you can within those 4 days and continue that process, or look at an every other year model, and the anticipation is you get more, like going every other year, but always staying on the numbers. And obviously with the investment that the city has made, obviously we shouldn't just wipe our hands clean and say, hey, we did it. This is going to be an ongoing thing that has to constantly be examined and followed through with. So with that, I will be quiet and happy to answer any questions.
I think my thoughts on this is that we don't have a deer culling program. We have a wildlife management program, which means that we've committed to, while deer is the headliner, we've committed to having a wildlife management program, and it is not a culling program, it is a management program. So in looking at budgeting for it every year, the decisions are going to be made based on data and based on those surveys that we do, or those counting, the counting that we do and the impact that we're seeing. And it may be that we get to every 2 years. It may be that we get to, a lesser need. And maybe that there's something new that comes up that we can do as part of that wildlife management that doesn't involve culling or sterilizing, right? So my thought is that as we have a wildlife management program, that should be a funded program, because our decisions are not known at this point, and but we know what it's cost us to get here. So knowing that last year we budgeted $100,000 for what we decided to do, that should be our baseline budget as far as a wildlife management program goes. We shouldn't have to be reactionary on getting, getting the data and then going back and finding the money. We should fund this program so that we know at a baseline what we're spending and have the ability to make those decisions as that data comes in. Because one of the things I asked was that we shouldn't just look at the counts, we should look at the impacts, the grazing lines. We had impact reports last time from our police department on.
I have all that
DRP.
information if you want to discuss it right now.
Well, no, we don't, but
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, we're not
Yeah.
at that point. Right now,
Yeah.
we're talking about a budget, right? But as we get to that point, there should be other data points besides just the
Absolutely.
count that lead us to the decision. This is a conversation about the budget, and because we have a wildlife management program, we should have a budget that allows for that to have funding, and then gives us the opportunity to proactively know what we have to spend, rather than reacting at the time that we're making this decision and having to find the money at that point. That was my whole point on this, is that, I don't think that we should have a reactionary budget. I think we should be proactively funding a wildlife management program.
A recommendation, if depending on other council members' feedback, is my only recommendation based off of what you said is I probably wouldn't put that number at 100,000 based off of what Dave told me or shared with me. I think that number would be closer to 50 personally. I would struggle finding a vendor or that would have the ability to get us to 80 for this upcoming year, just based off of what Dave shared and based off of the data we have right now. But that's.
But again, that's the assumption that our decision would be culling, right? We don't know what that decision's going to be. I think we're pigeonholing ourselves into thinking that that's going to be what we're going to be considering every single year, and I don't see that, especially as it evolves and those numbers come down and fluctuate. I don't see that being the decision-making conversation.
Is it the direction from council to pull together sterilization numbers? Or
I don't have a direction for you because we don't have the data.
Well, you said something other than culling, so other than culling and sterilization, I'm not sure what else we would do with this. I'm just trying to follow what would.
I think what Carmen's saying is, we should have a budget for it, and then in the fall, when we get the data, we make a determination at that point what we're gonna do, whether it's culling, nothing, small sterilization. Again, so we have a budget line for it, instead of just wait till the fall, we get some numbers, and then okay, well, I guess we should do something, let's now take a vote to pull money out of the reserves, instead of just having it in the thing.
Okay.
And then if we don't use it, we don't use it. But it's there if we need it. I think that's.
Why can't we use that budget of $25,600?
because it may not just be that. That's why.
Okay.
Plus, regardless, I would request 6,000 for the
Yes,
third-party
at minimum,
contractor
you're
to come
32
in.
to 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
This past year, we were able to cull 80. He was finally able to get to 80. We spent 48,141. So are we looking at a $50,000 item in
But to
there?
that point, they want to have the flexibility if they decide to sterilize, that we're not scrambling to have those funds.
I 100% agree, we need to have a line item and not be reactionary. I think what we're trying to come to a consensus on in some way is what is that number in that line item. But I think we also need to remember every year the budget, this is a discussion that's going to happen legally. So that number is going to be flexible every year. In terms of the cycle, from what you and I have discussed with the timing, if we're looking to get 2 years of data, because I'm 100% with you on, we need to make data-driven decisions for wildlife management. No objections to any of that. It's not irresponsible of us to set a lower number this year if we know that this year is a data collection year, because the timing of doing the data collection to actual action this year just isn't really feasible, especially if we're trying to build 2 years of usable data, which is really where we're going to see trends, is 2 to 3 years. And And while I'm all for buffering our budget and having options in order to get the range we're talking about from just a survey to a possible full sterilization program, which I don't think is feasible to pull off this year anyway, I don't think it's a problem for us to set a lower number saying we know we're gonna cover a survey and maybe have a little bit extra to cover the one scenario that we could potentially do. And then next year have the discussion when we're doing this again, because we do this every year, and we're gonna all be here together for at least 2 to 4 years, depending on where we are in our cycles, of saying, okay, is this year, and we know now we have 2 years of data based off the new transects. So I actually literally had thought $50,000 makes sense in my head to cover what's a realistic contingency for this year, so we're not wasting our time, because it is, I think sterilization or whatever it looks like in whatever form is at least 2 to 3 years out, based off of just to get accurate data that we can work with, to gauge our community temperature, to look at all the information they've been collecting for us in terms of tree lines, damage to landscaping, how many emails we're getting as council from the community, how many dead deer are being picked up. Like, that's all the stuff we need to be collecting right now. And that way we're not, and I'd asked Joey this when he and I had a conversation. I said, what happens if we don't use the money? It rolls over to reserves. I'm okay with that, but I'm just as happy. I'd prefer to actually have a more realistic number to the reality of our situation for this year, so that that money can be used in other places and isn't locked into just automatically rolling into the reserve fund if we don't use it, which is likely to happen under the realistic scenario we're in.
What was the total that we used last year for
For
wildlife?
this
100,000.
current fiscal,
The fiscal year?
for this fiscal year, 48,141.
So it's at that 50,000, so that's a base, it's a baseline.
I think, to Heather's point, the challenge for me, and obviously happy to have the conversation to get a gauge, but what would mobilization look like for sterilization if we decide to do that? Obviously, a decision wouldn't be made about that until September at the earliest. So what would that even look like from a scheduling standpoint?
I don't think we're going to be able to make a decision to sterilize with this budget, meaning that there's nothing showing us out there that we have that huge of an overabundance. What we've done has been working. And I do think that this year is more of a data collection, and I'm very hopeful that the numbers support that, because I would personally like to have a break from having to make a decision on that. But I think it's responsible to make sure that at least what we spent last year is allocated, so that if we do need to make a decision, if somewhere between now and September, all these babies bust up all over the place, we can't go backwards. We're going to have to make some tough decisions. So I would rather have the conversation being about the decision that's having to be made with the funds already allocated, rather than having 2 decisions to be made at that point.
Agreed. Absolutely
Yeah.
agreed.
No, I think.
Having the flexibility and the availability of having the funds to be able to pivot and do one thing or another, hopefully nothing. We definitely need the data, because we have definitely seen a decrease in the population of deer in our community. Like you said, I'd like to see us pump our brakes on something and really understand exactly what we're going to do. But if we need to move forward, being able to have the funds in that line item, or being able to pull funds from somewhere else in order to go off and move forward with another, way that we're going to go off and sterilize or whatnot. But that's just the conversation we're going to have later on. But I agree with having 50,000 in that line item.
Yeah, and I would feel comfortable, because, again, that way it gives us a chance to collect the data. We have a little flexibility to respond to whatever scenario is thrown at us, but we can all, I think, it sounds like we're in agreement, we all want to do the survey and are in agreement with that staff perspective. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but that's the impression I'm getting. I mean, it could be that we suddenly have black bears suddenly show up again, and we have to deal with black bears, and that falls under wildlife management,
Well,
so
and
we
I
got
think
fun.
that was a little bit of
Please don't add
Yeah.
animals. Don't put that in
No,
first,
no.
please.
My point is that
Been
we
seeing a lot of
can't have a
squirrels lately.
conversation that
I would
is
say-
just about culling.
Yeah, we could have, there could be an outbreak of
This
wasting
is a
disease, we don't know.
wildlife
Yeah.
management program, and we have to be very, very open about the fact that it isn't pigeonholed into how many deer are we going to cull this year. That's not what this is about.
And I think also that opens it up to the residents to go, look, we have a line item for this, there's a reasonable amount in there. The survey is definitely guaranteed, and then the rest is available depending on whatever direction the community and the conversations go with staff.
And once the survey is complete, happy to present that along with the other items that we had discussed.
I think that
as
had a
well.
lot of value when we had that meeting where it wasn't just about how many deer do we have, but it was about what is the effect of that? Not just how is it affecting people, but how is it affecting our environment and our treetop or grazing lines, et cetera. So this, I think, is a really good year to get that data back after 2 years of a lesser
Absolutely.
impact.
So is everybody good with 50,000? Okay. So I've placed that into that line item. Before we get into any other questions you may have in non-departmental, that brings your revenues over expenditures to $792,929. So as you have your spreadsheets open, if y'all want to pop in the 50,000 into the wildlife like I did, and it's up on the screens, the formulas and whatnot automatically adjust there, which is still a very, very healthy reserve to take us to, I'm going to let Bob talk about a plan that we have discussed. I think it's a very solid plan where we can do the things that need to be done. But before Bob gets to that, any questions that council may have on the line items within non-departmental?
Well, and I got a couple questions about the projects too, that we didn't cover yet.
Okay,
But we'll go to non-departmental first.
all right.
I did have one in here.
While he's finding his flags,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's small, but 24, it was a negative number, and now, why was that?
That was an adjustment by the auditors for some
Okay.
reason. I'm not sure why it's showing a negative number there, because we definitely bought flags.
Okay.
And keep in mind, this flags line item isn't just the big flag that we're working very diligently on, Tim is, to try to get back up on the cell tower. That's also flags in the Memorial Garden, flags at PD, flags at Fire Department, flags at City Hall, things like that. So it's, city flags are very, very expensive because it's a custom
It's just
flag.
estimated cost.
Yeah, so, but that's what's in the flag line item. It's not, obviously, the one that goes up on the cell tower is the most expensive one. The city flags those are pretty pricey as well, because those are a custom one.
Flags and banners, like going down to UK Drive or coming down
No,
to Stonecrest?
no,
Where the banners come from?
those are over in the marketing line item that's in your H-Tax.
Okay, no,
Mhm.
we haven't got it.
Were you asking about the trash?
Yeah, I was just looking at the numbers. So the question, Carmen and I looked at this earlier, so under non-departmental, the trash recycle service is 1.218 million,
Mm-hmm.
but the trash fees is only 1.1 million.
That's because we have other expenses related to city trash, things like that, things that we have to take out to the landfill and charges that we get there. So that line item isn't just the residential curbside collection.
Makes sense. That was it, right?
The repair and maintenance to the clubhouse, you've got it
So
as a
we-
new,
Yep, we
line.
pulled that from, that's typically been in H-Tax, based on our conversations, just to show, because we've got revenue shown on general fund, then showing attributable expenses to that facility in the same fund. Bob and I talked a little bit about, do we create a separate fund, separate budget? But there's not a lot of movement there, so we're just keeping it into the general fund. But that way, at least in one fund, you can see your revenues in versus anticipated expenses out.
yeah, I think that one of the things that I had talked to you about and brought up, and I think we've talked about it in meetings, is having the revenues that are coming in from the garrison as noted separately, so that those, in my opinion, one of the things that makes our golf club successful is that they have separate funds which we're able to see and allocate to specific needs that come from the golf course. We have the same opportunity to do the same for this building in general. Like the $30,000 that we're allocating towards part of the lower level. If the funds that are coming from the rental for the garrison, whether it's from the restaurant or whether it's from the event side of it, if that's kept in a separate fund, and those funds are then allocated to maintaining itself as a whole, the Glennon Center, lower level, air conditioning, things that we know we're responsible for, I think it would give us a linear view of how well it's supporting itself, the same way that the Beach Club does, the same way that T-Cud does. We would be able to see, we're getting this revenue in, this is an asset that we have to maintain, this much of that revenue is maintaining that asset, and at some point, does it clear the green line? Are we able to keep more than what we're spending in maintaining this asset? We won't be able to do that if that revenue goes into the general fund. We won't be able to do that unless it is a separate fund where we can track it that way.
So you're talking about creating a budget that's basically going to be two line items. One line that shows revenue in, one line that shows expenses out. Versus that's just extra accounting. That's an extra fund that we would have expenses to maintain at the bank. Versus just showing it this way, you've got $90,000 in projected revenue in, you've got $40,000 of expected expenses out related to the things that we're responsible
I think we
for.
can follow it just as easy as we keep it in one line item in revenues and one line item in expenses. It's easier to follow instead of creating another fund for two line items. I mean, I can follow it very easily. I mean, if we make 90,000 and we spend 40, we made 50,000 on the garrison.
Yeah, but where is that 50,000 going?
It would go into general fund reserves.
It's in general fund reserves overall, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
but then that 50,000 that's going into general funds can be spent for whatever
However
reason.
council dictates.
Anywhere, right? So it's not specific to seeing how this particular asset pays for itself or starts to grow. Just the same thing as the golf club. The golf course keeps its own money, spends its own money, and we can see, and they were able to see when they went to where they were making more money than they were spending and maintaining that facility.
But it's a larger entity.
Well,
Way
I
larger
understand that.
I'm just trying to make it less confusing. We could create a fund, but it should be two line items. That's all it would be.
Charlie, you said it earlier, I just want to make sure I understand. This new 40,000 for maintenance and repair to clubhouse, you said that's shown as revenue in somewhere?
So the revenue, you've got revenue in shown at the top under the restaurant license fee of $90,000.
Okay.
And then expenses related to the clubhouse, which would be, for us, per the contract, strictly the HVAC of $40,000.
That's what that 40 is? the
Yes,
HVAC?
yes.
But we used to pay for that with H-Tax?
Yes. So
Why
we
did we
moved it out of
change?
H-Tax and moved it to here to show that comparison that the mayor was requesting versus revenue in on general fund, because the revenue coming in on the license fees doesn't belong in H-Tax because that's not H-Tax money. They pay H-Tax to us that will be in the H-Tax revenue, right? But this is just their license fee. And obviously, as the rent abatement schedule decreases, goes away, however you want to say it, then obviously that revenue line item is going to go up. As they hit certain thresholds with events in the Glennon Center, that's going to go up. So we've forecasted for 90,000 just based on the minimums that they have to pay. But they could go up higher based on the events, because that was, what was that percentage? I forget, but it's capped. So we took the minimums on that plus what their rent would be, and that's where the 90,000 comes from. I mean, if you want it shown in a separate spreadsheet, we can do that.
I just want to be able to know that
just-
of that, the asset made $90,000, we're spending $40,000 of it. There was 50,000 left. We know that we are going to want to and need to renovate other areas.
Mhm.
It would be nice to have that linear expense. This is how much this has made, and this is how much we're reinvesting into the same asset without having to go, without it going into the general funds. It should just stay within itself.
So I hear what you're saying in terms of wanting to know that something is paying for itself. I think that, so I hear what you're saying in terms of wanting to know that something is paying for itself. So I hear what you're saying in terms of wanting to know that something is paying for itself. I think that, so I hear what you're saying in terms of wanting to know that something is paying for itself. So I hear what you're saying in terms of wanting to know that something is paying for itself. The problem, though, is that if we create a separate fund, that becomes a restricted fund. If this asset starts doing so well that it can help support other things in our community, then
And
we
it-
can't, then we
No,
can't pull it away from
because
itself.
it's happened with
Well,
golf.
I think, but I'm,
We've voted to take funds from golf to pay for other things, like to pay for the painting of the outside of this. We,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we take 350 grand right now.
And right now, we're taking $350,000 from golf every year to pay for
For
bonds.
bond, et cetera, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it a restricted fund. I think it would just.
No, it's not restricted.
Track it.
no. I
You
just,
can, you can move monies from one funds to the other.
it sounds like though what they're offering is, I would be more comfortable with a more detailed breakdown to be able to see where it is. My concern is that if we start breaking things down into these things, is you do run into those hitches though, where it becomes more complicated unnecessarily to the point that you don't have the flexibility you need in certain situations to use the money. Like, that's why you use a general fund. I've worked with other budgets that are much smaller than this. But the minute you start subdividing things out, it turns so messy that then suddenly you're like, well, wait, now we're trying to shuffle. I personally don't have trouble tracking that,
I
like,
can show a spreadsheet every year. I mean, yeah, cumulative effect every year.
And I can follow the
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I can follow this to say, you know, we got 90,000, we got
Okay.
40, we used $40,000 of it, 50,000 went into the general fund. For me, it's more about, you know, going back to impact fees, we get all these impact fees, what's the tracking of it? Is the accountability, this came in, this is what was spent in, this is how we spent it. It doesn't go into a general fund where then we're looking at how are we going to come up with an additional X amount of dollars to do this project, because then it's already funded. It's an asset that is taking care of itself.
Right, are you saying that the garrison revenue should only be used, or should primarily be used for the Glenn Center, or whatever we're calling this place now?
I think it makes sense.
So you're restricting that cash.
I'm not restricting it in that that's the only thing that it can do, but I think that it's a way of visualizing and seeing how, we have not made any money on this asset
Nope.
since it started.
No.
There's
No,
an
we have not.
opportunity
Not since
that now we're
2005.
going to see a different turn of that. I would like to be able to see at what point does it start to make itself better, self-fund those improvements. I think that is something that we should be able to track and see.
But we're not going to be paying for
yeah,
any improvements. Any of the improvements to the clubhouse and whatnot, that's
I'm
on
not talking
his.
about those improvements. I'm talking about the things that we do for here. I'm talking about the fact that landscaping falls on us. The outside landscape.
That's golf.
Okay.
We don't touch that.
We have to paint, we have to take care of the air conditioning, we have to take care of the roof. There's been other expenses that have come up that the city has taken care of. Whether we do that going forward, probably not. We have all this lower level stuff. And again, it's not a whole lot, but we're not making a whole lot to start with either, right? It's $90,000, it's what's expected.
For this year, yes,
For this
ma'am.
year. But there's an opportunity for it to go higher. I do think that whatever it comes out of that rent should be what is used to take care of this building.
But we'll have a line item that is lower than what we're expected for the revenue. We will possibly have a little extra money that goes into the general fund, and if we need to use that money to do anything for the building, I think we can still do that. I don't think we need to separate it to have a separate line item for all that stuff. I understand what you're trying to,
Yeah,
what you're
I
trying to
just
say,
wanna
what you're trying to
watch
do.
that.
And but we will,
Yeah.
we'll watch it and we'll see what's going on. But we don't need to
It's
separate
easier
it like that.
counting this way overall, it really is.
well, as I say, it'll show, that increase will show up in this chart, and then I think what
It'll-
Bob's offering to then, like what some of the departments have done, give us the more detailed spreadsheet that breaks
Now,
down those
It'll
items.
show you that line item.
I think
and
that's
it.
more what we're, I think that's more what we're getting at. I think the language though is implying that you want a restricted fund, which would create a whole other host of problems potentially down the line, is what I'm
We don't
concerned
have,
about.
I mean, other than TCUD, is TCUD even restricted?
No.
We don't have
No,
restricted.
council
Yeah.
has the ability
Yeah.
to
We
move
don't have
funds
restricted
from one
funds,
fund to
yeah.
the next.
And the extra money that we make from the license fees, we can go off and utilize anywhere we want. Go into the facility, painting, do whatever we need. And then we also have the line item for the maintenance and HVAC and all that kind of stuff, so it's there.
Yeah, the 40,000 is HVAC and elevator. I forgot, we also have the elevator maintenance.
I want to get back to why did we switch from using H-Tax?
Well,
We
part
use
of it was
every
to
year.
try to accomplish what the mayor's talking about, to where you can see it in one fund, right? From the tracking standpoint. And it frees up $40,000 from H-Tax.
Right, but if I look at the events thing, it's going to, and that's not tonight, but I got a lot of problems with that, with it's going to, more marketing,
So
That's
well, and I know
another
that's
big
for
one.
Monday night's conversation,
Yeah.
but the biggest increase on marketing is the new federal requirement that our website has to do the ADA conversion. So that'll be a one-time expense. But that's the big uptick on the marketing side, but we'll talk about that more on Monday.
But I mean, it almost lines up, a 40 grand increase in expenditures for, I don't know what this is called, events and tourism. It just happens to line up with 40 grand paying for this and that increasing by 40 grand. So I don't know, it just
I would say that
seems-
wasn't intentional, but
Oh, no, I'm not
I
saying
understand what you're
intentionally,
saying.
yeah, it's
I
just-
understand what you're saying.
I guess, but
we can
H-Tax is pretty
dig more into that
restricted
on
what we
Monday.
can use it on,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
So why are we using it? Why aren't we using it for this when this is our biggest tourism thing in the city?
So one of the things that I try to be conscious of as we were putting the budgets together, it actually stemmed from a conversation from last year from you, is being able to free up more H-Tax money to go towards the Catawba Park bond payment.
Got it.
That was a goal that we had.
right.
So we knew it was gonna go up by 24,000 just because, and change, because of the Rundy Field lights, that bond, or that, not a bond, that note being paid off, right? So looking for ways to have more of the H-Tax money being able to go towards that bond
Okay.
as much as we can. Moving this 40 grand goes out. Now, the ADA upgrade that we have to do, that we have to have Civic Plus do next fiscal year, that's a one-time fee. It's not a reoccurring thing. They're happening at the same time. So
So the 40
it's-
grand freed up to help cover that?
it does. In theory, yes, I would say it does.
Catawba Park bond?
Yeah.
On the marketing, you say, what, 40,000 on events tourism?
No, overall.
He's talking about overall on events.
Overall expenses.
going
Oh,
up.
okay, well,
I think
That's
that
a
if-
Monday
we're
conversation.
all set, we're all set.
Yeah, I was just trying to
We're all
figure,
set
follow
then.
the
Yeah,
H-Tax.
I'm not-
Mm-hmm.
I think that, to Tom's point, if H-Tax funds are being freed up, because now we're going to be using garrison funds to take care
Cover
of the
building expenses.
building,
Mhm.
then it makes sense to have those funds be allocated towards the bond payments or to something like an ADA expense, things, but not necessarily added to more discretionary events and it's got to go, it's got to make sense. We can't free up money in one place to go spend it freely somewhere where it isn't taking away some of our debt, or it isn't taking care of a major project that we would have had to do anyway.
Yeah, so the extra garrison revenue, if we're gonna use it on this facility this year, that 40 grand, that other 40 grand should be used to either pay down debt or capital projects. It shouldn't be used to, well, let's get, an extra billboard for Catawba Fest.
We're not doing any
I know,
billboards.
I'm just making something up. I'm
We're
just
not
saying
doing any
something like
billboards.
it- let's focus on
So,
where that extra money's
based
going.
on this conversation and in preparation for Monday's conversation, we'll put together a comparative analysis to help with that conversation. As far as looking at what monies were going where, especially out of H-Tax and whatnot, related to bond payments from prior years to what we're forecasting for this coming year. We'll put some numbers together and put you an analysis together and be ready to have that conversation Monday.
There's only certain things you can use the H-Tax on.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can pay a bond, let's pay a bond or something. I did have two questions about the projects. The comp study,
Okay, yes, sir.
yeah, so we just did one, right? How long ago?
2022.
Okay.
Best management practices is to update those every 5 years.
So, 27. When did we do the one before that?
That one was 7 years out.
I remember you said it was a while. That's what I was asking. And then the hearth room,
Correct.
30 grand seems like a lot to paint and put down carpet.
Well,
furniture.
it's not putting down carpet. It's ripping up the tile in the carpet and putting down LVT, similar to what you see in the clubhouse, what you see behind the dais here, to freshen that up and to repaint. So we'll be getting rid of all the old furniture in there, minus the card tables that, our bridge groups and things like that use. But it would be taking out all that old furniture that's very heavy,
That's
not
a
very
realistic
comfortable.
goal, 30 grand?
Do what now?
That's realistic, it's not high? It's
Based
not-
on quotes that Tim's
Okay.
been able to get, yes, sir.
All right. I
And
just
that
wanted to make
30
sure.
can say, we say it's from the 50 remaining.
There you go. You absolutely
See,
can.
that's what I'm talking
Now,
about.
if approved by council, obviously you won't vote on it until May, right? But, and I want you to hear what Bob, the plan that Bob has come up with to be able to fund things, right? These, like the hearth room, would be, in non-departmental, it would show up in that capital projects line item. Or we could just add it to the 40 grand, either way.
Keep it simple.
Right, so it would be
material.
in the general fund, but it doesn't matter whether it's in the capital projects line item or in the maintenance and repair. It could be either place.
We never, is that tonight? Are we talking about the leaf truck and the dump bed too?
No, sir. That's on Monday night.
That's on Monday, okay.
That's on Monday night.
Got it.
Part of that's gonna be discussed here in just a second with Bob as an overall funding plan.
Okay.
But on those specific things, those needs and whatnot, that'll be on Monday night as we discuss T-Cud and stormwater.
Okay, you ready?
All right, Bob, tell them the magic.
Basically, with the original budget that was passed out tonight, we're 842,929, right?
Which we're now at 792,929.
Exactly, we're taking $50,000 for wildlife management, which makes it 792,929. I plan on paying off the capital lease, Tom, the 883 that
That
you
we took
requested we
last year.
try to do. I'm going to do that, which makes the payments of the capital leases go away on the general fund by 140,000. The new figure becomes 932,929. And then I take the capital projects out of 293,000, makes it 639,929. I think Carmen would like a capital projects fund,
Oh, we talked about doing a capital
Mm-hmm.
improvement
yeah,
fund.
to put aside for items down the road, for capital items of 300,000, put it aside and be out, classified as capital projects fund. And then what's left over is 339,929, which I would put into contingency. Okay? And then we take out a new capital lease for the items that are listed here what is that total? Chuck?
$493,100.
Exactly, 493,000, plus all the other items that we may be talking about the other night, on Monday night. But the capital lease for general fund would be 493,000, which I would plan on paying again next year if the budget gives us, say we can do that.
So the big picture, you're paying off the 883.
Yes, exactly.
And you take a new lease.
Yes,
Right.
exactly, yep,
For 493.
yep, yeah, exactly,
for
The general fund portion
The
would
general
be
fund portion would be
493,100.
exactly, yeah.
In total, and that's for the things, if you look, it may be hard from where you're sitting, but if you look at the screen, the 493,100 is gonna be these items here in white, attributed to general fund, okay? And then, now, 493,100 is not gonna get us a very good interest rate because it's such a low amount on the borrowing. Banks like it to be north of $500,000 to get that interest rate down. So on top of that, we would bundle it in a package to the bank, with the T-Cud and the stormwater, if council approves. But the general fund portion would only be the 493,100. And then T-Cud would be responsible for its part of the note, stormwater would be responsible for its part of the note. But again, there would be no financial impact for the coming fiscal year because it's payment in 1 year in arrears.
Fantastic, yes.
Because we have 7.6 million in the bank right now. I've used the 500,000, bring it down to 7,000,001. But you're adding 339,000 to it with the contingency would make it 7.4. So but I'm saving on the capital lease payment of 140,000. To me, it's a no-brainer.
But then we're gonna have another.
We'll have another capital lease, but hopefully.
Which we would then look to pay off
Again, I'll do
in
the
the
same.
27-28 fiscal year.
And then next year, but
And then pay that off.
hopefully, we're looking to do the same thing next year if our budget looks okay.
Because we've already started paying on it.
No, not yet.
No.
My first payment is January.
That's right, that was
So-
the deal we made. We
So I would
got
pay
paid.
before
Pay it off
January,
before we
before the
start
first
having our
payment,
first payment.
I would take 500,000 of the general fund money, because there's stormwater and T-Cud involved too, but it'll only affect general fund by $500,000, give or take what the amount is, okay? Yeah, and the more we borrow, we get a better interest rate too. So then we will still have carrying on one capital lease, hopefully we'll pay that off next year, and keep on doing that if we can.
Where's the 300K come from for the capital?
project?
From this.
The
from
leftover.
792.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's how I
we
look at
have
it.
set, can you write all this out?
Yeah, so we will, I can, tomorrow, I can put these, so right now, yeah, in my commitment to you guys was I wasn't going to put anything new in the general fund. We're going to set it aside as we've done. We can move those things over and everything that Bob's telling you about. So the bottom part of your screen where I'm showing, yeah, it's actually north of 7.5, right, Bob? It's like 7.6 something,
7.6 and change.
right? So those bottom numbers, what we'll do is we'll update those based on what Bob is saying, and then I'll put this whole thing back into Dropbox for you. So then you can see those numbers in black and white with what Bob is talking about, yes. Because as we've said, as we've gone through the night, those vehicle leases that has appeared in each department, right?
They go away.
Those go away, right? And then you're going to show that payoff in Bob's plan. We can show that to you on these spreadsheets and
What
upload
was-
that into general fund tomorrow.
And maintains my $7 million in the bank too. I'll be plus $7 million too, or whatever still at this point in time, if we approve this.
What was the 140? You said,
That's capital lease payments. The general fund has 140,000 of that payment is capital lease.
And those will go away
Those
if
go
we pay
away
off
in
the
the
note.
in the line items. There's 140,000 of capital lease items in the budget. So I would
Okay.
just add it back. We're going to take that away because I'm going to pay it off. That payment will not be made.
so that 140 is going to be added to,
Yeah.
It goes into your bottom line.
Goes to the
so that's
bottom line.
another 140 that we could add to the 300 that's going to
No,
go?
that gets it up to the 300.
That gets it up to the 300 for the
It's contingency.
contingency?
Yeah,
Okay.
300,000 to capital projects fund. I'll open a new, in South Carolina IP, and then put the 339,000 in another account, a regular contingency.
Not to question your math, but is that not including T-Cud then, the T-Cud vehicle lease?
No,
No.
I'm not talking about T-Cud at all.
Yeah,
No.
I see 11644.
That's a
Right.
different general fund. General fund cash only I'm talking about.
So after all this, the surplus in the general fund is what over expenses?
300-something thousand
Okay,
dollars.
that's what I thought, okay.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
That
Yep.
would be the contingency amount.
Got it.
And I
Oh,
know,
well, the contingency would be 600 some odd dollars, 639,000.
well, you're including the capital money.
Okay,
Right.
I'll move that.
Okay.
He's just talking specific to general
Specific,
fund.
yeah.
Yeah, just want to make
Specific
sure,
contingency
okay.
would be 339, but I would open another account for 300,000, just to start that ball rolling there. And hopefully we can do that every year if the budget,
Okay, so that's what I was asking. That 140 is going to our contingency fund, not our capital improvement fund. That 300,000 is
Correct.
is separate,
Yes.
okay? Got it.
Yep.
So we would still have an over 300,000 contingency that
Yes.
goes into reserves.
Correct.
yes.
And an additional 300,000
Capital.
capital improvement.
exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so your bottom line's gonna would end up being 600 plus to the good. 300 of that at the end of the fiscal year, Bob would transfer, it would create a new fund in our, in the local government investment pool, right?
Yes.
Down in Columbia.
Yes.
And that would be specific for the capital reserve fund.
Great.
And the rest of it would go into the general reserve fund that's also with the investment pool.
Perfect. No, thanks for
Earning
clarifying.
interest.
Yep.
The interest rates are 3.6% right now. That's not too bad, is it?
In question, I know we're not talking stormwater and T-Cud, but the stormwater had two big items.
Yes.
That would be part of the lease?
It would be part of the lease, but Stormwater would be responsible for that
That's
payment.
gonna put stormwater, they already have two leases, right?
One's coming off.
One's coming off.
So we're gonna
one-
pay off that lease?
Yes. One of
In
them-
addition to the general fund portion?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll just have the grapple
We took
truck.
an $883,000 capital lease out last year.
Yeah.
That's all gonna be
Pay the
gone.
whole thing off, that's what I was trying to follow.
Yep.
Yes,
Works out perfectly.
yep,
The winning part is putting that 300,000 capital
Yes.
improvement fund
Yep.
together.
absolutely.
That's something new that we haven't done.
And
If you
something that
approve
I,
this, it's easy.
and something that I had shared previously with the mayor, y'all saw the 4-year CIP, right? And building that CIP fund, we'll call it, that takes time, right? So that 300,000, and, the goal would be to be able to put 300,000 plus every year towards it. That's to build towards those expenses in year 4 and beyond, right? It's hard to build a fund in 1 year and have it pay for the things in that year.
So hopefully you
when
can
starting anew.
continue.
So we want to build that and keep building on it for those future years, because next year y'all are going to get CIPs that anything that's not funded this year, right? It's just going to bump back a year, right? And then we're gonna add that next year. I think it went out to what, 2930? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah, so next year when y'all see it, you'll see 3031 column added to it. And that's what we'll do every year going forward, is add that next year, so that way it stays as a 4-year plan.
Yeah. Well, and then
Yeah.
obviously the goal.
I like that. Just that way, if we do have to punt, push something off here, we've got, we can
Yeah.
plan.
Well, it
to pay
allows,
for
instead
yeah.
of constantly punting those things like that big Turner,
Yep,
like the
yep.
lights at Turner, eventually you hit the point where that fund has enough
If
that
I
you
was
go, we
running the
can
show,
now.
that's what I would do, okay?
So we can pull those big things out.
So we can update this general fund sheet tomorrow.
Perfect.
And then we're not going to make any changes on the T-Cut and stormwater and those other funds, right? We'll just do the general fund portion, and then we'll re-upload
Monday
that
night.
tomorrow into
Okay.
Dropbox.
Okay.
That way y'all have got it through the weekend and everything, and then we can reconvene on Monday night.
What's the interest rate? What's the interest rate now in your reserve?
3.56.
I thought it was 3.65.
No, 3.56 was the latest from March 31st.
Okay.
3.56, but that, it goes.
Yeah.
What if the loan's more than that?
Pardon me?
What if the loan's 4%?
I don't know. Well,
Cash. We pay
well,
cash.
we'll see. I mean, I,
for it for a year and then paying it off. It's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah. The interest rate, yeah, doing this plan, really, it takes the interest rate, whatever that may be on the loan, takes it.
As long as we pay it off.
As long as we're able to pay it off
Exactly.
correctly.
And who- and
Yes.
Like I said, if we borrow, well, the cap was to maybe $1 million. The more we borrow, the better the interest rate. I've been told that by the banks. Don't, if I went to them for $500,000, they would say, most of the banks
They
would
won't
walk
even
away.
give us a
They
quote.
walk away.
All right. Working
Any
this
other-
accounting voodoo, I love it.
Yes. Bob likes to say he finagles the bagel.
Trying to make everybody happy. Make everybody
Not
happy.
sure what that means, but I don't ask. Yes. Any other questions on
That wasn't
general
supposed
fund
to come up that way, was
statements, issues, concerns? on General fund? All right. Well, we'll work tomorrow to get this updated and get it reloaded up into Dropbox so you can see exactly in black and white what Bob's talking about. And we'll work on that analysis on the HTAC stuff before Monday night's meeting and have that ready for discussion as well.
And I just want to say thank you for all of those individual department spreadsheets that got loaded up, so that as we were having those discussions, to both
fantastic.
have the main one.
They spent a lot
I
of
just,
time
I
on it.
wanted to give a
Yes,
shout out
thank
to
you.
the department heads,
Yes.
because I know how much work goes into stuff like that, but those were so helpful to be able to pull over and tab over.
Good.
And so say, oh, I'm looking at this line item, but now I can see what it breaks into. I really appreciated that.
Let's finish up with our council comments real quick, and then
Yep.
we can, go ahead.
No, I'd
Jim.
just like to thank, echo that, just thank you for all the department heads for putting all the time and effort into this. This is really helpful for us to be able to see in more granularity, both the big picture and drilling down into individual line items. Much appreciated. So thank you, and thank your staffs for the hard work as well.
Go ahead. Yes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Good discussion this evening, and glad we got this part done.
Yeah, I've already said my bit, so thank you. Echoing everything that's been said.
Yeah, thanks to all staff. I know it's late, so I won't say no more. Appreciate it.
I have about a 15-minute speech. Yeah, you guys did a great job.
Motion to
It was
adjourn?
good. You cannot make a motion.
Second.
I have not asked for a motion.
Yeah, no, we don't need it.
Robert's rules, baby.
Yeah, Robert's rules.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, it was already made.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I'm ignoring you.
It was Tom
All
made
in
the
favor?
motion.
Done.
All of us. I want to buy you Robert's rules.
Ignoring.